And Ernie, are you here? Okay. Oh, hi, ma'am. All right. Well, it seems like we have everyone and we are ready to start. So let's do this. Hello, everyone, and good morning or good evening. Wherever you are in the world right now, it's wonderful to have you here. I hope you're having a lovely day so far. Welcome to Sam Ratulangi University's Vice Rector for Academic Affairs. Hi, Prof. Gerong. Thank you for joining us this morning. We have our Dean for the Faculty of Agriculture here, Professor Robert Molinar.
Good morning,
we have
everyone.
all our speakers. We have all our speakers and our moderators here and participants from all over the world. As I've said this briefly before, and while the videos were playing, we have 23 countries spanning 5 continents, which is a pretty awesome attendance list. And the time zones are spanning from GMT -5 to GMT +14, 12 time zones in total. So some of our participants will be watching at 4 a.m. in the morning, and some will be at 11 p.m. in the evening. And we have the international coconut community to thank for this. They helped us greatly in organizing this webinar. And so thank you to Dr. Alo, Pak Bahari, and the whole team for being with us every step of the way. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the international webinar on coconuts in smart agriculture in celebration of the 60th anniversary of the Faculty of Agriculture in Sam Ratulangi University. We're very pleased to present this webinar to you. We have a great lineup of speakers, and we hope all of us here can learn a great deal from today's discussions. My name is Caroline Dea Tasrin, and I will be your MC for today. Just a quick reminder to everyone to please mute your mics throughout the webinar, unless otherwise indicated. If you have any questions for any of the sessions, you may either 1, use the raise hand feature in the participant box, 2, type your question in the Q&A box, or 3, type your question in the chat box. So all options open. The link to the attendance list will be shared towards the end of the second session. So please keep an eye out on the chat box for the link. Now let us open this webinar with a prayer. The prayer will be delivered by Insinyur Erni Nurali, MS. Mrs. Nurali, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, dear.
Angie, you're still on mute.
Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to pray according to your own beliefs, but please allow me to lead the prayer in Protestant Christian beliefs. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning. We thank you for your blessing and protection in our lives today. Dear Father, today we will hold an international seminar related to coconut farming with the aim of getting ideas for solving various problems faced by our coconut farmers. This way we can divine the necessary solutions for benefit of all. This activity is carried out in collaboration between the Faculty of Agriculture, Sam Ratulangi University, and the international coconut community. Yes, Father, for that, we ask for your power to also apply to this activity so that it may run well and we offer it to the glory of your holy name only. Thank you, Father. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you kindly, Mrs. Nurali. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now sing Indonesia's national anthem. A quick reminder again to please keep your mic muted, and you are welcome to join in singing as the anthem video plays. Ladies and gentlemen, please play respect while the anthem is played, and let us sing Indonesia Raya. Thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now proceed to the welcoming speech, which will be delivered by the Director of International Coconut Community, ICC, Insinyur Delvina C. Alo, MSc, PhD. Dr. Alo, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Dea. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. Honorable Rector of the University of Sam Ratulangi, Professor Dr. Ellen Kumaat, represented by Professor Dr. Grevo Gerung, the Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, Honorable National Liaison Officers from all ICC member countries, Honorable Senior Government Officials, Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture, Professor Dr. Robert Molenar, distinguished members of the academic community, resource speakers, coconut industries, participants from 20 countries of 5 continents, ladies and gentlemen. It is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you to the international webinar, Coconut in Smart Agriculture, organized by the Faculty of Agriculture, University of Sam Ratulangi, Manado, in collaboration with the international coconut community. This is part of the commemoration of the 60th anniversary of the Faculty of Agriculture, University of Sam Ratulangi, Manado, the place where I took my bachelor's degree. So the Faculty of Agriculture and University of Sam Ratulangi has long been vital and powerful drivers of local and global innovation and economic development, including in generating technologies needed by coconut sectors. In this virtual webinar room, on behalf of all students, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to all advisors and teachers, leaders, and staff for their invaluable support, constructive criticisms during the course of our study. Thank you so much for the countless hours of guidance and advice to our research and the future. Honorable Rectors, ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 pandemic and global travel restriction have imposed us to hold this meeting remotely to prevent disease transmission and save us from the lethal disease. The pandemic reminds us of how we can use this turning point in history not only to recover from the pandemic, but also how we can build forward better and accelerate the implementation of the smart agriculture, which in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm so grateful that the committee of the celebration of the 60th anniversary of the Faculty of Agriculture has chosen coconut as the main topic of this webinar. So I'm delighted to let those who are not from North Sulawesi know that North Sulawesi province, where the Unsrat is located, has prioritized coconut as the main program. Because of that, this province is famously known as the province of Nyur Melambay, or waving coconut trees. So we all understand the importance of smart farming, which can significantly boost coconut production in terms of productivity and sustainability. So the 3 pillars of sustainability, including economic viability, environmental protection, and social equity, is very essential in addressing issues on low coconut production, low farmers' income, long supply chains, product quality, and market. As future demands for coconut-based products are increasing, and an intensive, unjustifiable negative campaign of coconut and its product, the university roles in revealing the considerable potential of coconut to the health aspect and environmental protection continue to grow in importance. So we hope that more innovation and in coconut-related technologies or products will be generated from the Faculty of Agriculture for the benefit of farmers, industry, and the sustainable development of the coconut sector. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that by participating in this webinar, we can accelerate the exchange of technologies and ideas and scaling up good practices in the coconut sector. So I wish you all a very successful webinar and a happy 60th anniversary to the Faculty of Agriculture, University Sam Ratulangi, Manado. Thank you. Makasih banyak.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alo, for your kind welcoming words. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now listen to opening remarks delivered by Sam Ratulangi University's Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, Professor Dr. Insinyur Grefo Gerung, MSc, on behalf of the Rector of Sam Ratulangi University, Professor Dr. Insinyur Ellen Kumaat, MSc. Prof. Gerung, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. Shalom, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening. I'm sorry because the rector of the Sam Ratulangi University says something to do, this important thing she has to do to this morning. So I'm here in this webinar on behalf of her. Honorable Dr. Jelvin Alo, the Director of the International Coconut Community, ICC. I believe you was one of the best student in Sam Ratulangi University that time. Thanks to be belonging to the Sam Ratulangi University. Honorable Professor Dr. Robert Molinar, the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture, Sam Ratulangi University, all speaker and moderator, of course, participant of webinar, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let us together give thanks to the presence of God Almighty. Because of His grace, we can participate in this morning webinar. We know that almost a year from January or from February for March, we are living together with COVID-19. COVID-19 around us. The pandemic is still there, and we must continue to exist our living and then to fight pandemic COVID-19. Our social life has changed. Our habit of greeting can only be done by help of electronic devices. Expression, our smiling, cannot longer because they are covered by mask. Nobody can see your smile. Shake hand, every day we shake hand with each other, now become the source of spread out of the virus. So the main role now is staying healthy in our house, wherever we are. Stay healthy is our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, as the land of coconut waving, we call Nyur Melambai, our area, our province where the Sam Ratulangi University located, we call North Sulawesi province. Coconut has become a main product that contribute the most, about 60% of the non-oil and gas sector in this area. In Sam Ratulangi University, especially in the Faculty of Agriculture, we have a coconut research unit. This coconut research unit continues to study and develop technology in nursery, cultivation, and of course, post-harvesting. They working and collaborate with the private sector, and they were supported by the government, and local government, and also the national government. In research toward the coconut startup industry, we hope we can build coconut startup industry. However, of course, we always ready to collaborate with any institution in this coconut field of study. We know well then, and we understand that the knowledge is universal. Knowledge is not belonging to individual researcher and not belonging to one institution, one university, one research institution. But knowledge is belonging to all the institutions. Today, all the participants will follow several presentations on various coconut research topics from Australia, from India, from Philippines, from Vietnam, and of course from Sam Ratulangi University. We hope the knowledge and experience shared by this webinar can be benefit in increasing the insight of all participants. On behalf of Rector of Sam Ratulangi University, I'm really appreciate the effort to conduct this international webinar. The title Coconut in Smart Agriculture, organized by the Faculty of Agriculture, Sam Ratulangi University in collaboration with the ICC. The webinar is held as one of the activity to celebrate the Faculty of Agriculture 60th anniversary. Congratulations for Faculty of Agriculture. Finally, on behalf of Rector of Sam Ratulangi University, I officially open this international webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you warmly, Professor Gerung. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning and open this webinar for us. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us start with the first session for today. This session will be chaired by the Dean of Faculty of Agriculture, Professor Insinyur Robert Molenar, MS, PhD, and will feature 3 great speakers. Let us now give the floor to Professor Molenar.
Thank you, Ms. Caroline. Dea, I used to call our MC today. Honorable speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and even good evening. So my name is Robert Molenar, and as this webinar is arranged to have 2 sessions, each has a group of 3 speakers in it. And I have the honor to chair the first session with a group of speakers consist of Dr. Jelfina Alo, Dr. Fabian Deirit, and Mrs. Dipti Nair. And in this session, we will let all the 3 speakers do their presentations first, and question and answer sessions will be held afterward. And during the presentations, the participants are expected to submit questions through the available chat room in Zoom. So we have time until around 10 a.m. Central Indonesia time for the presentation. And as I see that our speakers are with us already, so let me invite first and introduce our first speaker, Dr. Jelfina Alo. Dr. Alo did her undergraduate degree in the Pest and Disease at the Faculty of Agriculture, Sam Ratulangi University. She then did her master and PhD degrees in entomology at the University of the Philippines at Los Banos and the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, USA, respectively. She then pursues her career as a research scientist at the Ministry of Agriculture, Republic of Indonesia, where from 1992 to 2017, she involved as researchers at Indonesian Palm Crops Research Institute, IPCRI. And from 2017 to 2019, she was the Deputy Collaboration and Dissemination Division of ICECRD, Indonesian Center for Estate Crops Research and Development in Bogor. And from 2019 to present, she is the Executive Director of the International Coconut Community, ICC. And she published numerous articles in journals and proceedings as main author and co-author. And she also published quite many bulletins and monographs related to coconut pest and disease issues. And this morning, she will share with us her view on global scenario of coconut sector during COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Alo. Dr. Alo, time is yours.
Thank you so much, Dean. The academicians, participants, ladies and gentlemen, let me share my screen. Okay, good evening, good morning, good afternoon to you all. I'm pleased to talk about the global scenario of coconut sector during the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. And this is the outline of my presentation. I'm going to talk about the introduction, present situation, sustainability strategies, and the conclusion. Okay. Oh. I cannot move this. Maybe the committee can help me. The technical problem, Mas Bahari. Okay. Sorry. ICC. Okay. Sorry for the technical problem. Next, please. Okay, next, please. So the ICC currently has 20 coconut producing member countries, accounting for over 90% of the world coconut production and export of coconut products. And next, please. Okay, sorry.
May I help for the presentation, Dr. Alo, probably? Or Pak Bahari is still doing it.
Okay. Okay, next, Bahari. Sorry. Please, next. Coconut justifiably plays an important role in people's economic, social, and cultural lives in many countries worldwide. It is contributing to up to more than 3% of the nation's gross domestic product, and global export revenue of coconut products amounted to $11.6 billion in 2019, With about 12 million hectares, the palms has provided employment opportunities to more than 30 million small farmers and labor in industries.
I'm helping you, Dr. Alo, for the presentation.
Oh, okay.
Is it?
Sorry.
It's already.
This is still Pak Bahari's screen,
Okay.
Prof.
Bahari.
Molinar. So yeah, I think this is good.
Yeah. Previous slide, please. Okay, with about 12 million hectares, the palm has provided employment opportunities to more than 30 million small farmers and labor in industries. The contribution of coconut to the country is not only in terms of export revenue, but also domestic consumption and to the health benefit obtained by the farmers, their family, and consumers, as well as to the environment. Next, please. And Campbell and Lipper et al. 2014 said that smart farming can significantly boost the agriculture production, both in terms of productivity and sustainability. Next, please. So in terms of sustainability, coconut is contributing and will continually contribute to countries' effort toward achieving 9 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which aims to improve farmers' livelihoods, sustain coconut industries, and boost supply to meet the rising global demand. Next, please. The global export of coconut products is fluctuating and attained the maximum in 2019. And there is a slight decrease in 2020, partly due to the lockdown during the COVID-19 pandemic. But it is predicted that the global export will be rising after this pandemic. So coconut consumption continues to grow globally, and wide use of coconut in cosmetic, food and beverage, and pharmaceutical industries has driven rapid growth of the global coconut market. And one key challenge is how to increase production sustainably. Next, please. So the 20 member countries of the international coconut community occupy 88.7% of the global area and produce around 92.7% of the world's coconut supply. From 2006 to 2020, as you can see here in this graph, the total world coconut production, including in the 20 ICC member countries, has been mostly steady. So apart from the effect of climatic condition and pests and diseases attack on production, there has not been much replanting senile palms in most countries. So a comprehensive approach is needed to increase production significantly. We hope that this commodity will become a priority program of all ICC member countries, including Indonesia. Next, please. The Philippines has the largest coconut area among the ICC member countries, followed closely by Indonesia and India. Next, please. And the highest productivity has been reported from India, as you can see in this graph. Next, please. More than 15 million households are engaging in coconut sector in ICC member countries. If one family consisted of 4 people, then more than 60 million people depend on coconut as a source of income. So based on data we receive from the member countries, the total unproductive palms is about 175 million palms. This number will be increasing each year if there is no significant replanting program. Next, please. So nearly all parts of the palm, as we all know, serve the human economy, social, culture, and environment. Today, there are more than 100 coconut-based products traded globally and locally. Next, please. And coconut oil, or CNO, continues as the major coconut product traded globally. The Philippines and Indonesia are the main producer and exporters of CNO, contributed to more than 70% of the global supply. The USA and the European Union are the main export destinations, and CNO exported to European countries and others mostly enter the Netherlands through Rotterdam port, and the price of CNO usually refers to the Sea of Rotterdam. Next, please. So income increases as producers switch to virgin coconut oil production, which has the fast growing market among all coconut products. Next, please. So the crude coconut oil will be further processed by industry to add value to the product and generate various oleochemicals for higher selling price. Next, please. You can see here the CNO price fluctuates widely. The price is now improving. And among the factors that may influence a bullish market in 2020 is an expected lower production and stock of the oil. As we all know that the price of coconut oil is largely affected by price trends in other vegetable oil market, especially palm oil. Next. So from January to July 2020, the Indonesian CNO export volume declined by about 5% against the previous year. From January to July 2020, the export volume of CNO from Indonesia to the USA and the Netherlands, you can see here in this graph, increased, while exports to Malaysia reduced by around 14% compared to the last year's export. So based on current forecasts, global utilization of oils would still outstrip production. Next, please. Another meat-based products that is fully developed and manufactured in many ICC countries is desiccated coconut. World demand is over 400,000 metric tons annually from more than 100 foreign markets. And the Philippines and Indonesia are the major exporting countries, with Sri Lanka, Vietnam, and Malaysia also increasing. And the major destination of this product include USA, UK, France, and more. Next, please. So the import demand of desiccated coconut grows at a CAGR of almost 4% during 2001-2019. So actually this is a big opportunity to take advantage of this growing demand. So we are aware that there is a competition for raw materials of some products such as desiccated coconut, CNO, VCO, and coconut milk. So all products need meat as raw materials. So increase in production is urgently required. Next, please. The price of desiccated coconut is relatively stable and higher than CNO. So the main export destination of DC from the Philippines is USA. Next, please. While the main export destination of DC from Indonesia is Russia. So during COVID-19 pandemic, the export of DC from Indonesia was increased by about 28%. And export DC from Indonesia mostly, as I mentioned before, to Russia, Singapore, and Germany. Next, please. So coconut shell charcoal is the main product derived from coconut shell. And the value-added processing of coconut shell charcoal into briquette and activated carbon has so much potential as global demand for the product is increasing annually. The Philippines, India, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka are leading exporter of coconut shell-based products. And as we all know that major uses of activated carbon include an adsorbent in purification agent for drinking water, medicines, sugars, etc. So utilizing the smoke waste in the coconut shell charcoal industry into liquid smoke also will increase the added value for the industry. You can see here the price of activated carbon, the 10 stable for the last 6 years. Next. There is much potential also to further develop coconut coir and coir-based products, especially in Indonesia, the Philippines, and India, and other countries where so much raw material exists. Coconut coir and cocoa peat are the main products from coconut husk. And India, Sri Lanka continues as two major producers and exporter of coconut coir. And the products export destination, including China, the USA, Netherlands, the UK, and Israel. Next, please. Another product, its market has expanded rapidly at 150% annually is coconut water. So major export destinations are the USA and Netherlands, and the top suppliers of coconut water are Thailand, Brazil, Singapore, and the Philippines. We hope that Indonesia also will export. Next, please. Global coconut water market is expected to grow continually. And this is a great opportunity for coconut producing countries to fill the growing demand. Next, please. Ladies and gentlemen, people are getting more health conscious now. They are seeking healthier products like coconut sugar. There is an increasing demand for coconut sugar as an alternative sweetener. It has a glycemic index of less than 35, which is beneficial for normal people and those who have diabetes, indicating a strong domestic and export market potential for coconut sugar. And supply to the global market of coconut sub-sugar is dominated by Indonesia, Thailand, and the Philippines, and increasing in India and Sri Lanka. So a significant advantage of coconut sugar production is that it can be undertaken by village or small to medium scale enterprises, including cooperatives involving women. And most of the coconut sugar from Indonesia had been exported to the USA. Next, please. The domestic and global consumption of coconut-based products is increasingly growing. However, we are still facing number of challenges, including but are not limited to low productivity and production. So technologies, networks, and collaborations, capacity building, and technology transfers, including research and development, are urgently required to address those challenges. And we are lucky to have some resource speakers which are fairly knowledgeable and have experience in this area. So the resource speakers will be giving more explanation on the strategies. Next. The goal of sustainable coconut development is to meet society's needs in the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So to make sure the sustainability as part of our main goals, coconut stakeholders need to integrate three main objectives: the ecological protection or a healthy environment, social equity, and economic viability. As we all know that land use in coconut monoculture system is only about 25%. And growing intercrops in coconut plantations with food or horticulture crops or aquaculture between coconut palms, this is not only to produce more foods and agricultural products, which are important for food security in rural and urban areas, and also farmers' income improvement, but also favor the diversity of soil microflora and biological control agents and other beneficial organisms, and to get higher biomass generation. So use of eco-friendly technologies and products will protect the environment and human being. Integrated coconut industry by processing most parts of coconut could minimize waste and at the same time improve the income. So another problem in coconut sector is low income of farmers. So mutual synergy between farmers and industry should be maintained. And processing of various coconut edit value products can add income to the farming family. So technical assistance on coconut processing technology, good manufacturing practices, promotion of quality standards, and access to market should therefore be provided. And shorten coconut supply chains, establish MSME, and innovation in terms of technology and products, the consistency in production and quality, job creation, engineering designs, novel product range are some of the essential factors to make sure we get economic sustainability in coconut sector. Next, please. So in conclusion, the outlook of market for higher value products is exceptionally positive. However, the availability of raw material is relatively low. The acceleration of the implementation of program to increase production is a must. And innovative product development, diversification, quality, including research and development requires expansion. And we know that major challenges treating sustainable development of coconut include senility of the palm, pest and disease infestation, and lack of investment in planting. So thank you so much for your kind attention. Makasih banyak for perhatiannya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alo. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Alo has conveyed to us the status of coconut production, coconut-based products, and their future demands, where she showed that while the demand is increasing, the supply, on the other hand, however, is decreasing due to low and decreasing productivity due to many issues. And for that, she proposed some important strategies to develop technologies to improve productivity while considering the environment, social, and economy to develop a sustainable coconut production system. Thank you. I think I prefer to call you Dr. Jelfina with you, because to me, that's a very nice name and a marketable name one.
Say Jelfina.
Yeah, I have a weird idea that you must agree if any coconut-based product would like to have that name on their product, such as the Jelfina cookies or Jelfina cocoa cookies, something like that. Okay, well, let me now invite and introduce our second speaker. It is Dr. Fabian Deirit. Dr. Deirit, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay,
yes, good morning.
let me introduce you first. Dr. Deirit is an emeritus professor at the Department of Chemistry, Ateneo de Manila University, Philippines. He obtained his BS chemistry degree from the Ateneo in 1975, and his Master of Art and PhD degrees in chemistry from Princeton University in 1978 and 1981, respectively. And he was a postdoctoral research associate at Oxford University, 1980 to 1982, and University of Tokyo, 1993, and University of Minnesota, 1994. He was admitted as an academician to the National Academy of Science and Technology, Philippines, in 2009, and is currently its vice president. In 2016, she was appointed chair of the Scientific Advisory Committee for Health and of the Asian and Pacific Coconut Community, APCC, now expanded to the International Coconut Community. He has published research and papers on coconut oil in the Journal of the American Oil Chemists Society, Philippine Journal of Science, CORD, and Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry. In 2013, he wrote the popular book, Coconut Oil, From Diet to Therapy. And he has written numerous articles and given talk on the benefit of coconut oil. He continues to conduct research to improve the quality of virgin coconut oil and the efficacy of VCO against COVID-19. And today, he will be talking on the coconut treasure of the tropics. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. David.
Thank you, Professor Molinar. And well, thank you, Dr. Justina, for also for this, also the invitation. And well, congratulations to Sam Ratulangi University for having such a distinguished alum. So I'm honored to be invited to talk to you on the topic of coconuts in smart agriculture. Let me congratulate the Faculty of Agriculture on its 60th anniversary. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes. So my talk is going to be in three parts. Previous slide. First, I'll talk about the coconut is a fruit of the tropics. And then the second part will be the coconut as a tree of life and prosperity. And third, the coconut against COVID-19. Just to give you a bit this summary on what is going on on clinical studies on coconut against COVID-19. The first topic is, coconut is a fruit of the tropics. And I'd like to address the question is, why is the coconut so special to the tropics? As you can see here, the 80 million years ago, before the plates separated, the coconut tree evolved. And then as the plates separated, it moved towards Southeast Asia. And that's exactly where we are, Indonesia, the Philippines. And the other plate moved to South India. If you look at the next slide, this is an article, a paper in 2011 by Gunn and co-workers, where they traced the spread of the coconut throughout the tropical world using genetic markers. And they identified exactly these two places, South India and Southeast Asia, as the source of coconuts. So, people were debating, where did it originate? Was it South India or Southeast Asia? And the answer is really, if you follow the tectonic plates, that's where they were, the coconuts were deposited 80 million years ago. So the two geographical origins of coconut cultivation is really Southeast Asia and the southern part of the Indian subcontinent. Next slide, please. The coconut today is pantropic, so it's distributed 20 degrees north and south of the equator. So it's really a tropical fruit. It's been consumed by people in the tropics and the Pacific for many millennia. And if you look at the map, there are about 1 billion people who consume the coconut in 90 plus countries. The coconut is also the most useful food resource in the world. On the left side of that table, you have the products that are made commercially. So you have cooking oil, VCO, coconut flour, coconut milk, cream, water. So these are commercial products. But the ones in finer print are the traditional foods which are made out of coconut. So there are many uses of the coconut, and many of these are not entered into the formal, economic data. So I'll refer to that later. So that each country where the coconut is produced has its own local culinary dish based on the coconut. I think that's important to remember. Next slide, please. Now, the industrial history of the coconut can be traced to copra. In the 1940s, the demand for coconut oil grew in Europe. Coconut oil replaced whale oil, which was used in street lamps, and animal fats, which was used in candles, soap, and edible fat. Coconuts were exported in the form of dried coconut wheat, which is called copra. And so copra became the major export product from coconut and was the earliest coconut in the industrial production system. So this is true in the Philippines. It's also true in Indonesia as well. Today, copra is considered a low-value coconut product with a production process that really has not changed for the past 180 years. Next slide, please. Now, this is an article, Taliyar and the Green Gold, the development of the coconut trade on an Indonesian island. So this is an article published, obviously referring to an island in Indonesia. And let's look at the first few sentences of this article. It says, in the colonial period, many Europeans considered coconut a lazy man's crop. For the Indonesian population, however, they were a profitable form of cultivation, especially from the 1880s when coconut European oil and fats industry increasingly started to use copra. So it really traces the start of the industrial use of coconut to copra. It also highlights that Europeans thought that coconut farmers were lazy, and unfortunately, many of us believe them. So we should disabuse them of this notion that coconut farmers are lazy. Next slide, please. So let's go to the second topic, the coconut as a tree of life and prosperity. So we all say that the coconut is a tree of life, but I think the second part of that is it should be also be a tree of prosperity. In other words, coconut farmers should also be prosperous. So the coconut is a sustainable resource, as Dr. Gelfina already mentioned. It is a sustainable resource. Utilization ensures the continued use of the resource into the future, and its environmental impact is actually very favorable, especially if you use intercropping. But we should ensure inclusive economic growth. In other words, coconut farmers must also benefit economically from the coconut. And we have to introduce quality and innovation, as Dr. Gelfina mentioned. Next slide, please. So this is a drawing which you'll find in the internet. So how is a coconut being a tree of life and prosperity? The next slide. So if you look at the coconut itself, this is a list of the products that you can get from the coconut meat, from coconut water, from coconut shell, coconut husk. So really, a lot of products. Now the challenge here is converting this raw material into finished products. So even as we talk about, coconuts in agriculture, we should also shift to the discussion about coconuts in industry. We should pay more attention to how to industrialize all of these products from the coconut. In general, desiccated coconut is probably and coconut water would be the most, product that's consumed, as an industrial sort of setting, but the others are not as well developed. Next slide, please. Dr. Josefina also mentioned products from the coconut sap. There's coconut sugar, there's coconut wine and spirits, coconut sap vinegar, which is different from vinegar from coconut water. And there are biochemicals that you can obtain from the coconut sap. So again, the sap would be another resource. Next slide, please. And if you do intercropping and use the rest of the coconut, then you get, of course, coconut palm leaves, materials. You can get mats and many other products, intercropping and integrated farm systems, and coconut lumber as a sustainable agroforestry resource. I think we should also convince the farmer that if they cut the coconut tree after 6 years, the coconut lumber is really also a product that they can make use of, process into cocoa lumber, into furniture, and many things. And it's certainly much more sustainable than cutting down trees. So next slide, please. This is a list which is, I borrowed this from the international coconut community. In 1993, there were less than 30 products listed, commercial products from coconut. 2017, this has gone up to 100 plus. So clearly, many products from the coconut. Now the challenge here is how to make it more productive and quality and value system. Next slide, please. So this is a pie chart of the coconut oil versus major vegetable oils 2020. Again, I borrowed this from the ICC, and coconut oil accounts for about 1% of the global vegetable oils industry. It used to be 2% about 5 years ago. So the share of coconut has dropped to 1%. And maybe people would mourn this information. Why is coconut oil dropping in its share of the global vegetable oils market? Now, I'd like to give another perspective on this, perhaps to give some, other aspects to this situation. The next slide, please. So here I'd like to compare the history and context of the coconut versus the other vegetable oils. As as we all know, coconut has a strong historical and cultural links. Um, People who grew up with, people grew up with coconut. It's part of the diet and lifestyle. It has a lot of local and domestic consumption. It is a multi-product, and it is very strong socio-economic links. Land ownership is mainly by coconut farmers, about 90%. In comparison, if you look at the industrial oils, they're mostly transplanted and modified by industrial development. So soybean oil is planted in places where it's really just an industrial crop. Same thing with palm oil as well as canola. And the major product of these crops is really just the oil, different from coconut. Next slide, please. So in terms of production system, um, coconut is really small land holdings, more than 90% have less than 5 hectares. Traditional social, cultural, economic system, low capitalization, and mainly manual labor. While the others are really agro-industrial, they have an integrated value chain and highly mechanized. Next slide, please. Now, if you compare the nature of the products, we should look at the informal sector where coconut is consumed a lot in the household and domestic consumption, and does not enter into the formal economics data. For example, here you can go to any corner, you can get coconut water. Vendors sell coconut water and coconut dish. They make coconut ice cream, and these are not entered into the economic system. And then in the formal sector, of course, we have oleochemicals, we have products in the food industry and cosmetics. While others, it's really their main products really vegetable oils, soybean oil, corn oil, rapeseed oil, or canola, sunflower, and as well as they're converted into margarine by hydrogenation. So most of the margarines come from polyunsaturated fatty acids, and of course we all know that that's unhealthy. So the nature of products comparing coconut and others is really different. It's like comparing bananas to avocados. Yeah. So next slide. But still, if we're going to industrialize, at least the products that we do industrialization, we have to create the value chain. The feedstock, the production of the feedstock, the coconuts themselves, do R&D, manufacturing, product development and branding, logistics and distribution, and as well as marketing. So integration really creates more value, and this is what we have to look at. Now, the coconut farmer really just enters the first step. So there are many steps along the value chain that we have to strengthen. Next slide. So let's share you some recent information about the use of coconut, specifically VCO, against COVID-19. Next slide. To appreciate the problem, we have to realize that the virus, SARS-CoV-2, attacks the ACE2 receptors, and these receptors are all over the body. That's why, although COVID is, initially seen as a respiratory disease, it is really a multi-disease. It, of course, attacks the respiratory system, but it attacks the gut as well, the gastrointestinal system, the heart, the kidney, the brain, the liver, the lungs, and endothelial cells, the blood vessels. So it's really a whole body disease. And then you have the problem of cytokine storm, where the body produces a lot of cytokines as inflammation. Next slide, please. So the pharmaceutical strategy is to address each one separately. So they make antivirals, and here mainly it's repurposed drugs. They have things to work on the immune system, mainly vaccines, and they have anti-inflammatory drugs. Now, I'd like to share with you that you can do all of this with VCO. So next slide. Well, just for those who are not that familiar with VCO, just to share a few key bits of information. Fresh coconut meat itself contains about 35% coconut oil. So if you cannot take VCO, just take a lot of coconut meat or cook all your meals with coconut, and that's 35% coconut oil. VCO is obtained directly from fresh coconut meat without chemical processing. And here I show you the three main ways of preparing VCO: through expeller process, centrifuge, or fermentation process. All of them have the same fatty acid profile, so you should not ask whether which one is better than the other. In general, they're really quite similar. They would be mainly differ in terms of taste, which taste you prefer. And VCO is generally recognized as safe. Next slide, please. So the coconut oil itself is not antiviral. It only becomes antiviral when you take it in, you consume it, and because you have enzymes in the body that release the compounds in coconut which are active. And here refer mainly to lauric acid and monolaurin, although there are other active compounds in coconut oil, but we'll just focus on these two compounds. Next slide, please. So this is the virus life cycle. You have the free virus floating around. It attaches to the cell, enters the cell, then replicates inside the cell. It gets reassembled, and then in the process of getting reassembled and released, it destroys the virus. So, it destroys the cell. So that's why people get sick, and then more viruses exit. The next slide. Now, from the in vitro studies that we did using SARS-CoV-2, using lauric acid and monolaurin as the test compounds, we're able to show that these two compounds lower the viral concentration at low viral load. So as long as the virus concentration is not so high, these two compounds are effective. And second, these two compounds also enhance cell survival. So the cells are not destroyed as you see in the figure, but they survive longer in the presence of these two compounds. Next slide. Now, these are the results from the clinical studies on mild COVID-19 patients. So in this study, which was just concluded last month, it was implemented in a quarantine facility. So these were mild COVID patients. They were symptomatic, and so they were admitted into the clinic. And there are mainly two ways of monitoring them. One is by their symptoms, the coughing, fever, colds, and so forth, which were done daily. And then their C-reactive protein was measured in their blood at day 1, day 14, and day 28. Now, about their dosage, it's calculated in terms of body weight, but in general, you can say that the initial 3 days, they took low amounts of VCO together with their meals. Now, this is double blind, so the patients didn't know whether they were taking VCO or not. And then on day 4, the amount of VCO was increased in the VCO group all the way to day 28, the end of the study. Next slide, please. And here I'd like to summarize the two main results. Two aspects were monitored. One was symptomatic relief, and the next one I'll describe in the next slide. But here, the recovery from COVID-19 symptoms was more rapid in the VCO group versus the control group. So 5 out of 29 patients in the VCO group manifested improvement as early as day 2 of the intervention, compared with only 1 in the control group. Now, it's important to note here that by day 2, they were only taking the small dose, since it was still the minimal dose. Doses increased at day 4. So even with a small dose, already 5 manifested improvement in their symptoms. And then the VCO group also, all the patients had symptomatic relief, all of them by day 18, compared to the control group, which took longer. Next slide. Now, this is the data from the mean level of C-reactive proteins in the VCO group, and it dropped much more rapidly compared to the control group. So the VCO group is the one in blue. The dotted line that's 5 milligrams per liter. That's sort of the marker. If you're above that, that's a sign that you have inflammation. If you're below that, then inflammation is decreased. So the CRP level of the VCO group normalized rapidly, and by day 14, and it's already below 5, and then continued to drop until day 28. In comparison to the C-reactive level in the control group, which dropped more slowly and stayed at the borderline until day 28. This means that the VCO group experienced improvement from infection or inflammation within 14 days after the start of the VCO intervention based on the C-reactive protein. So this is complementary result to the symptomatic relief that was experienced. The next slide. So to summarize the overall results of VCO as an antiviral and anti-COVID agent, the box sections here are the results of our in vitro study on the left and the clinical study on the right. The other information there are from literature. So as you can see, our results are really consistent with literature, and they are specific for COVID-19. So we are confident that this is a very favorable result, and something we will follow up. And this work was funded by the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development of our Department of Science and Technology, and the VCO was tested by the Philippine Coconut Authority. So the PCA sourced the VCO from manufacturers, and they tested them. So it's also important to make sure that the VCO that you give your patients are past quality standards. Next slide, please. Now, this is again called an adjuvant. This is a medical term, I guess, which means to assist or is auxiliary. A general definition of an adjuvant is a substance that enhances the effect of a particular medical treatment. Now, there are other sub definitions. There's adjuvant therapy, drug adjuvant, and immunological adjuvant. Now, the immunological adjuvant, if you read the definition, is to improve the immune response of a vaccine. So, in fact, it brings to a suggestion that maybe when people get vaccinated, they take it with VCO, maybe it even improve the performance of the vaccine. Who knows? But the next slide, the other way of describing VCO is that it's a multifunctional food. Well, it's a functional food, but it's multifunctional. Functional food has a particular meaning. It's a food with specific health benefits, and certainly one of the health benefits that we can claim for VCO is that it's antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties. Now, the functional food category you can, I think, propose to agencies based on literature, while the adjuvant you have to do clinical studies on. So either whether you consider it as an adjuvant or a functional food, I think is depends on what you mean. So as the last slide, yeah. So it's really a invitation that the ICC can maybe coordinate a coconut solidarity trial. So as the WHO has its solidarity trial on drugs, perhaps we should do our own solidarity trial on VCO. And of course, the more countries that participate, then the more data we have. So on that note, I thank you all for your attention, and hopefully, we can push coconut further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. David. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. David has enlightened to us regarding the value of coconut as a treasure due to its historic and even prehistoric values, and it is really a valuable treasure due to its so many functionalities and potentialities that coconut can provide for our life. And even now, it is during the pandemic condition and situation, coconut even contributes in the fight of against COVID-19. And I know many of the participants would like to have further confirmation on this issue. So please hold until we come to the question and answer session. Meanwhile, you can write your questions in the available chat room. Now, let me invite our next speaker, Mrs. Dipti Nair. Mrs. Dipti, are you here with us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, let me introduce you first. Mrs. Tipti working in the developmental field aside grassroots level farmers since 1997. And she played a major role in establishing the three-tier system for farmer producer organization in India. And she also helps to coordinate the developmental activities related to the integrated development of coconut cultivation and industry in India. Currently, she is working as Deputy Director of Coconut Development Board under Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India. And previously, she worked as Assistant Director in Asian and Pacific Coconut Community, currently called International Coconut Community. And she is also an intergovernmental organization. It is an intergovernmental organization established under the aegis of UNESCO with coconut growing countries as members. She has worked in a lead role in horticulture development program funded by EU, wherein several concepts were developed and piloted and fine-tuned and replicated for the development of the grassroots level farmers. She did her postgraduate in agriculture with specialization in plant breeding and genetics. Today, she will present her topic on good agricultural practices in coconut and coconut farmers farmer organization in India. Mrs. Nayer's time is yours.
Thank you. Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. And I would first like to express my sincere gratitude to the Faculty of Agriculture, University of Sam Ratulangi, and also to International Coconut Community for having given me the opportunity to participate in this international webinar. And the topic assigned to me is regarding good agriculture practices in coconut and the coconut farmer organizations in India. So I'll just share my screen. I hope it is visible.
Yes, you can see it clearly. Yes.
Okay, thank you. To start with about sustainable agriculture, I think Dr. Jelfina has already spoken about the sustainable agriculture, so I will not go into depth into that. But good agriculture practices are those practices which will lead to sustainable agriculture, both for social progress, for economic growth, and for environmental protection. And this global scenario also has been explained by Dr. Jelfina, but I just would like to say that coming from India, India though stands third in area under coconut, we are topping the list in terms of coconut production and productivity as per the statistics of ICC for the year 2017. And coming to my topic, good agricultural practices, as earlier two speakers had mentioned, coconut is cultivated mainly by small and marginal farmers. So they are having land area very much less, maybe in India, predominantly less than 2 hectares. And so we have to stress on good agricultural practices in order to attain sustainability in agriculture, in coconut cultivation. And when the land area is very less, we have to reach out to a large number of farmers. That is the major hurdle. And as Dr. Darrit has presented in his presentation, that coconut is cultivated by smallholder farmers, and mostly what happens is that it is not cultivated as a commercial crop. We have been used to coconut, so there's a great relevance in taking these good agricultural practices to the farming community. So I have just listed out a list of good agricultural practices, which I'll be describing in detail. This is a very exhaustive topic, but I'll try to do justice to my presentation. So these are the areas that we in India intervene to take the good agricultural practices to the farmers. The first and foremost is the development of the seedling. Because in the case of coconut, most of the farmers, sometimes the coconut is not really planted. It comes on its own. The nut falls down, the seedling emerges, and it comes on its own. But coconut is a crop which is having a productive age of maybe 60 years, and sometimes it lasts for more than 100 years in plantations. So the selection of the seed nut and the seedling is very important in order to get good production and productivity. So I just would like to share the mode in which we ensure in India, or try to ensure that the farmers are planting quality seedlings, because that is the major base. So we educate the farmers and provide them idea about how to select a plantation. What are the criteria that you have to look into when you select a plantation for selection of seed nuts? And secondly, in a particular plantation, how do you select a mother palm? We in India, along with the Coconut Development Board, the organization that I am representing, we have formed some farmer producer organizations, which I will come into later, and we work closely with them along with our research institutes to help them to identify the mother palms, so that we map the mother palms and the farmers take seed nuts only from those palms. And for the selection of seed nut also, it is very important, because you are selecting the embryo which is going to give you the plant which is going to produce coconuts for another 80 or 100 years. So selection, I have just listed out the criteria which we look into while we select the mother palms, and also we select the seed nuts. So this is in a nutshell about how the seedling formation takes place. You can see that once the seed nuts are selected, in India, what we follow is that under good agriculture practices, we sow, even if it is tall plants, we keep the seedlings, the seed nuts for around 2 to 3 months, and then only we sow in nursery or seed beds. If it is a dwarf, we keep it for 15 to 30 days, and then we sow in nurseries. In the nurseries, it can be, if it is a proper land, you can have flat beds. If there is a problem of drainage issues or anything, you should have raised beds. Plant the seedlings either vertically or horizontally. We usually plant vertically in India because it is easier for the movement of the seedlings also. But in case there is a time gap that occurs between for sowing, delayed sowing, there is a chance that there will be reduction in the water content inside the seed nut. So then we advise for horizontal sowing. And the pictures that I'm sharing here are, some of them are coconut nurseries or seedlings developed by some of our farmer producer organizations under our guidance. So the farmer organizations, they select seed nuts and they produce seedlings for distribution among them. So that is a we feeling, and I think that creates an ownership also, and we are also able to ensure that they are planting quality seedlings. And we also have introduced the concept of planting in poly bags, like sowing the seed nuts and immediately transferring them into poly bags, which has both advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that it's easy, there is no transplanting shock. You can plant it directly into the pit. You can remove the cover, and you can, with the mud and the soil and the root intact. But the disadvantage is that transportation, it is bulky, so you may not be able to accommodate that much in a particular vehicle when you are carrying. But still, it is found to be very good and adopted by farmers also when they are doing production of seedlings. And when you have developed seedlings, you have to be very diligent in discarding those seed nuts which have germinated very late, because they are not going to give you a good production. There are certain standards which we follow. Ideally, say that the age of the seedling should be at least 1 year, and they should have at least 5 to 6 leaves. The leaves should be early split. And we have criteria for the girth at the collar region, the height of the seedling, the petiole color, and it should be free from pest and disease incidents. And here I have just mentioned how we source the mother palms. The mother palms, as I earlier told, that we have identified mother palms which are mapped in farmers' fields, and the farmers will select those mother palms. And the system that we follow in India and we recommend to the farmers is pits of size 1 to 1.5 meter by 1 to 1.5 meter by 1 to 1.2 meter, depending upon whether the soil is well drained, whether there is a rocky substratum, and depending upon the soil. So once you make a pit, what you advise them is that fill the pit with topsoil, a mixture of topsoil and organic manure, and almost to about half the depth of the pit, and then only you plant the seedlings, and make sure that there is no soil on the collar region or on the leaf axils of the seedlings, because that is not advisable for the proper growth of the seedling. And important thing is the site where you are having the plantation. At times we get complaints from farmers that I have selected very good quality seedlings, but we are not getting a good yield. So the climate is also having a very important role in our productivity. Like Dr. Darrit has earlier mentioned, coconut is a crop of the tropics, mostly between latitude 20 degree north and 20 degrees south. And they can tolerate a temperature 27 plus or minus 5 degrees Celsius. That is, if you have a temperature which goes very much beyond cool times, maybe some areas may having very low temperatures during the December, the winter periods, that will have an impact on the health of the palm. So you have to be very careful when you select the site for the plantation. A relative humidity of more than 60%. Elevation also has a very important role, because maybe coconuts will grow at elevations above 1,000 meters above mean sea level, but the productivity in comparison to the investment may be less. So the ideal choice is maybe 600 meters above mean sea level, but in the equatorial regions, you can go even up to 1,000 meters. And rainfall is very important. Coconut is a crop in which proper irrigation and proper drainage is very crucial for its productivity. So rainfall at a minimum of 2,000 millimeter rainfall in a year, but if it is well distributed throughout the year, then it is very ideal for the crop. And a minimum of 2,000 hours sunshine, that is important in the context that many of the farmers are not having exclusive coconut plantations. Coconut may be growing along with mangoes and jack and arecanut and all. So we have to be careful that it is not in a shady place, because it needs sunshine. A soil should be well aerated. It tolerates salinity. Maybe you all know most of the coastal areas we have coconut plantations, and it tolerates a pH from 5 to 8. So these are things that you have to be careful when you are selecting the site. If you're going to invest in a new plantation, these are the points that you have to take into account. And for productivity improvement, apart from the seedling selection, for productivity improvement, what is the variety that you want to plant? That also is very important, because when you talk about sustainable agriculture, you have limited land space and you have limited resources, and using that resources, you will have to undertake production to provide nutritional security, food security, not harming the environment. So in India, we have around 49 improved varieties with high yield potential, some having a resistance to abiotic stress, some suitable for tendernut. Another 29 improved varieties have been released by our research institutes, which are suitable to different agroclimatic zones. And we also have around 20 hybrid varieties, which are combinations of dwarf into tall, tall into dwarf, and also tall into tall. So productivity is very much closely related to the varietal characteristics, the inherent genetic capacity. So this is also a factor that the farmer has to take into account while deciding. And another thing is that the nutritional point of view. There are the main nutrition that coconut needs, apart from nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium and boron micronutrients are also very important. So we have to be very careful. We have to be planning the nutrient management in coconut. And we advocate for more use of organic manures like vermicompost. The Coconut Development Board, what we do is that through the farmer organizations, we provide support for making vermicompost, so that we provide a support, or even coir pit compost, so that in the farmer's field itself, they make the compost and they apply it to the palms. And the advantage of these organic manures is that, as you know, it livens the soil. It is said that the soil is full of microbes, and number of soil microbes in 1 acre of a soil, the soil scientists say that it is as big as 2 elephants. So the more the number of microbes in the soil, the more environmentally we are preserving the soil texture, structure, and organic matter. And these are some of the deficiency symptoms that we usually notice. I just put it because usually when farmers see yellowing in a coconut palm, it can be due to many reasons. We have to check how that yellowing has come, and only then we will be able to give the nutritional supplement. And in India, we have a system where we have a established system for analyzing the soil health. The farmers are issued a soil health card where the farmers can test the soil. I would advise that you should do the soil testing in your plantation at least once in 3 years, so that you know what your soil consists of, whether any major nutrient or micronutrient is lacking. And here we have district wise digital soil maps, which will give you an idea about how the soil profile is being. We also have mobile soil labs where the farmers can take their sample to and get the samples tested. And based on that, they will give a recommendation. You have to give the crop that you are going to plant, or the crop that is there in the plantation in that particular area, so that the officer will be able to give you the apt recommendation for that particular crop. And that recommendation can be in the terms of more in terms of organic manures. We do promote more of organic manures, plant growth promoting substances like Azospirillum, Phosphobacterium, Bacillus megaterium, arbuscular mycorrhizal, bioinoculants. We even have our research stations have developed compositions which are readily available to the farmer, which can be applied. So these not only promote the general health of the seedling, but also it gives some level of resistance to pest and diseases. And also we promote organic content in the soil in coconut plantations by promoting cover cropping and also promoting growing legumes in the basins. In India, mainly in South India, where coconut is cultivated, we have a habit of making the basin around the coconut palm, especially just before the monsoon. So in India, we have two monsoons, the southwest and northeast monsoon. So just before the monsoon, maybe 1 month before, we make the basins and we put organic leafy manure in that, and we put soil on that, so that by the arrival of the monsoons, this nitrogenous material gets mixed with the soil, and it enriches the soil organic matter, soil microbes, content, etc. So this is something that we can do. And related to conservation of resources, many practices are being advised to the farmers, like coir pit mulching in the coconut basin, coconut leaf mulching or husk mulching. In areas with a slopy terrain, we even advise farmers to make contour trenches and to fill them with 2 layers of coconut husk. The first layer we put upside like this, and the second layer can come like this, so that it absorbs moisture. Moisture retention capacity is very high. And also we are having many schemes which promote rainwater harvesting, to develop farm ponds, to revive. We had some traditional systems for collection of water, which was stopped in between with modernization. So we have programs where we encourage the farmers to go back to revival of the traditional system. And also rainwater harvesting structures are advised in all plantations. Sometimes in some provinces, they even have a condition that you have to have a rainwater harvesting structure in your plantation, because the impact is very much. You cannot imagine how much water you can store through this rainwater harvesting structure. So these are some of the conservation of natural resources activities related to soil erosion, and also related to water management that we are undertaking, and we are advising the farmers. And we also are advising farmers to do drip irrigation, micro irrigation techniques in coconut plantations. And also in coconut nurseries, we advocate for sprinklers, because we find that 35 to 40% we are able to save water, because water is a very important resource that is going to be very scarce in the coming years. So judicious use of water. And now in big plantations, we have also advised them to do fertigation. That is, you can include your nutrient fertilizer application, urea, diammonium phosphate, MOP, water soluble, even boron. You have water soluble components which can be included along with your irrigation water, so that we can ensure that the nutrients reach the basins. And also, since the drip is set in such a way that the pipes are delivering water to the active root zone, like in coconut, the active root zone is around 1.8 meter around the base of the coconut palm. So that area is being catered to with proper water and also proper nutrition. So this is something that we do. And also we do husk burial in the coconut basins. That is also advocated because to retain the moisture, to conserve the moisture. Regarding crop protection, as you all know, we in India also, we are having the instances of rhinoceros beetle red palm weevil infestation majorly. But with the community approach, like for control of rhinoceros beetle, red palm weevil, etc., even if you have control mechanisms, biological control mechanisms like use of metarrhizum manoseae, which infects the grub, if it is not done on a community basis, if all don't do it, it may go from one plantation to the other or to the neighboring district. So the Coconut Development Board, in association with the state governments, we have the state governments and the provincial government departments. So we go as a community approach. And I would like to say that the formation of these farmer producer organizations has been very much helpful in reaching to the grassroots level farmer when it comes to control mechanisms or management mechanisms for major pest and diseases. And other pests like Areophyte mite, leaf-eating caterpillar. Recently, there was an infestation by rugospiraling whitefly. So we more recommend for biological control, like spraying of neem oil, using traps, using biocontrol mechanisms like larval parasites, pupal parasites, or adult beetles, bugs, which may be feeding on the larval instars. So that type of management is promoted. And we also have programs where once that culture is developed by the research station, we have programs where for biocontrol labs, small biocontrol labs can be established by NGOs or by farmer groups, so that they can do the multiplication of this particular biocontrol agent and give it to the other farmers so that it reaches everyone. So to continue with the major pests, these are some of the pests, and luckily we have had biocontrol mechanisms. It's not that all are doing biocontrol mechanisms, but still through the promotion of good agriculture practices, through awareness programs, through extension activities, through farmers' field schools, half-day programs to farmers, generally for demonstrating what they have to do. By this, we have been able to reach the farmers and communicate to them, transfer to them the technology related to control of major pests using environmentally sustainable mechanisms. And these are, as usual, some of the diseases which are prevalent in most of the coconut growing countries. We also have the problem of bud rot, especially since the coconut growing regions, major regions, receive very good monsoon. So what we advocate to the farmers and the farmer groups now, what we do is that just before the monsoon, we clean the crown. We use our palm climbers, and it is better that you clean the crown and do prophylactic spraying of Bordeaux mixture so that the palm is protected. We do have a debilitating disease like root wilt, which is a phytoplasma disease, and we have some tolerant varieties, and we have found that with good agriculture practices, we are able to manage the disease. And other things like leaf rot, stem bleeding, etc. Are also there. In general, we advise our farmers to apply Pseudomonas and Trichoderma on coconut basins, which will give an inherent resistance, a tolerance, a better health for the plant, which will be helping countering the pest or disease attack. And these are also some of the diseases. And I would like to stress on the immature nut fall. Sometimes farmers come to us saying that there is an immature nutfall, that is button shedding. We don't know what it is about. So we advise them to go into the basics, like immature nutfall can be caused by many things. It can be a genetic factor because of the poor quality of your seedling. It can be due to the fungus attack or a mite attack, or it can be even due to nutritional imbalance. So what we have to advise is that we have to work with the farmers and empower them to identify the symptoms, and then so that we can give the appropriate control measures. So these are some of the management methods that are adopted as part of good agriculture practice in India. And coming to crop diversification, Dr. Jelfina had already spoken about intercropping and all. In India, we promote intercropping to a large extent. We have more plantations of coconut which have intercrops, and we have a series of crops which are intercropped in coconut plantations, starting with banana, turmeric, arecanut, tapioca, maize, sorghum, pepper, grass, fodder, even flowering plants, leafy vegetables, etc. So what would earlier Dr. Darrett was also telling that the farmer is not getting a very assured income from coconut. So what we can do is that coconut is a crop like till 5 to 6 years after planting, and then after 20 years after planting, there are a lot of interspaces. If you are going by the spacing of 7.5 to 8 meter between palms, between rows, you have lot of interspaces which can be efficiently utilized for generating additional income. And it also adds to the green matter into the soil. It recycles the green matter into the soil, making it more nutrient rich, allowing for more microbial activity. So intercropping, coconut being a very friendly crop for intercropping and mixed cropping, crop diversification is promoted very much by. And we also promote high density multi-storied cropping system. That is, in the first photo, you can see that you have pineapple and leafy vegetables along the edges. You have pepper trailed onto the coconut palm. You have banana. You can have cloves, nutmeg, cinnamon. So one thing what we advise the farmers is that if you are planning for a multi-storied cropping or a multiple cropping in coconut, you have to have a spacing of 10 meter by 10 meter, so that you can have the perennials also along with it. So you have good yield. Having intercrops and multi-crops also complements to the yield of coconut also. You have you can increase the production and productivity of coconut also, and the cost of production is also less than the individual thing, but you will be able to generate more returns from the crop. And crop diversification, this is also mixed farming with animals, poultry, pisciculture, because in this era of sustainable agriculture, it is very much important that we utilize the resources judiciously for production of food for the global community. So in that way, having mixed farming not only adds to the food production, but also it enriches the soil, it enriches the soil microbes, it adds to the organic matter to the soil, and there is a very good interaction between the components in a positive manner. It also adds to the soil mass. And related to how do we just mentioned about what are the good agriculture practices that you can adopt in coconut plantations, but being developmental workers or scientists, we sitting and saying about that would not help, because it has to reach to the grassroots level farmer who may be having a homestead with just 10 palms, or who may be a person who is having 2 hectares of land, or maybe a big farmer who is having more than 10 hectares of land of coconut plantations. So how we reach to them is we do have specific seminars or workshops, national level, state level, district level, block level, and more important, now we concentrate through the farmer producer organizations. And we do have training programs where we train them. We even give managerial trainings. We give training on skill development also. There is a problem of dearth of laborers, dearth of people who are skilled in undertaking farm operations. And also we have some demonstration farms which are run by the government, like from Coconut Development Board, where we demonstrate all these good agriculture practices, and the farmers are taken on study tour or visits to see and believe that, look, if you go for such good agriculture practices, you will be able to get a better returns. And we also have these demonstration plots in farmers' fields, because one farmer is having a demonstration plot means the other farmers will be, there is a more acceptability of the results of that particular demonstration. So that is how we try to do this extension and transfer of technology. And insurance and credit. As you all know, most of the coconut producing countries like Philippines, Indonesia, or India, especially the eastern coast of India, we all have issues of calamities. Cyclones which destroy most of our coconut plantations, the palms which were nurtured and which took 7 years to bear, losing them, it is a big issue. So in India, we have a situation where we have an insurance and a credit mechanism. I'll talk about the credit mechanism first. Like, if you are a farmer, you can register as a farmer and you will be issued a Kisan credit card. Kisan means farmer actually in Hindi. So Kisan credit card. And using this credit card, you will be able to get loans if you convert in dollar terms from $6,500 to $7,000. Which can be over a period of 3 years or up to 5 years. So the farmer need not be in dearth of finance to invest in his coconut plantation. And the interest rate for such loans, the rate is 9%, but as soon as you apply for a loan or you use your card, you will be getting a subsidy of 2%, which is extended by the government of India for all farmers. And so your net interest rate will become only 7%. And if the farmer repays it promptly, another 3% is reduced. So in effect, a farmer can avail finance at a rate of 4%. And we have been able to cover many farmers under this scheme during the past 4 to 5 years. And it has been very beneficial for the farming community. And coming to the insurance, what the Coconut Board in association with Government of India, what we have done is that we have categorized the palms into two types: 4 to 15-year-old palms and 15 to 60-year-old palms. 4 to 15 means it will take 15 to 20 years for a tall variety to reach that productive stage. So for that, there is a lower premium and a lower coverage. And for 15 to 60-year-old palms which have high productive, they are in the productive stage, you have a different premium and a different assurance. And farmers will be very reluctant to pay the premium of insurance, because they may think that if nothing happens, they're going to lose that money. So what we have done is that the premium, 50% will be paid by Government of India, 25% by the state government, and 25% by the farmer. So if a farmer wants to insure 1,000 of his palms, he just has to pay 25% of the total premium, and the state government will put in another 25%, and Government of India will put another 50%. And we do have also a scheme for palm climbers. Like in India, we do harvesting of coconut from the palms once in 45 to 60 days. That is done as a regular activity. And during that time, palm climbing is not a white collar job. People are not interested in going to climb a palm and harvest fruits, even if they don't have any other job. So we started on a program where we trained unemployed youth who are interested to come for trainings on palm climbing. And for these palm climbers, we have had an insurance package in which the premium is paid 75% by Government of India and 25% for the palm climber. And that covers if he has any problem for his hospitalization charges, or if something happens, he has a partial disability, or if in the worst case, there is an accidental death, then that risk is covered. So these two are like coconut is a crop where the product, the cost, the price of coconut or coconut oil or price fluctuating. So we need to reduce the risk of the farmer, and these two insurance schemes are for that. And mechanization, as you all know, coconut is a crop where mechanization has been very limited. This was the palm climbing using a palm climber which trainings we had given. And to be frank, I would say that there were more ladies, housewives who didn't have job, who came for the training, and they are earning a regular income. And what we taught them is that you keep if suppose a lady or a palm climber, we call them friends of coconut tree. So the friends of coconut tree, they go to a farm for doing the harvest. You make a systematically record what you have done, so that after 45 to 60 years, you can call the farmer directly and ask, shall I come for the next harvest? So that there is a bond happening between the farmer and the palm climber, and both are benefited. And in the bottom, I would like to see there are some new prototypes that have been developed and are in the process of commercial testing. Some 2 types of robotic palm harvesters have been developed, and it is going to be commercialized. So if it comes, there will be no need for a person to climb the palm. And also Nira harvesters. I think Dr. Darrit also was talking about coconut sugar. So in India, we tap the coconut inflorescence for Nira as a beverage. So we don't want, the fermentation has to be arrested. So this Nira harvester, it has it works on a principle that it has a German blade which cuts the inflorescence every day with a minute thickness, and the Nira gets collected inside that and cold temperature, but that also has to be commercialized. And we have developed a airbus player for spraying in palms which are more than 30-meter high, and also a red palm weevil detector. Actually, red palm weevil, it is actually a problem, major problem, because we don't really understand that it is infected unless we see the final symptoms, when that palm crown topples down and all. So this Central Plantation Crops Research Institute, which is the mandated institute for doing research on coconut cultivation, they have developed a detector, which is like a watch. You can tie it onto the trunk of the palm, and if the grub is sitting and gnawing inside, that sound is sensed and it gives an indication. So if you have around 1,000 palms, it doesn't take much effort. You can find out whether it is infected, and if there is infestation noticed, you can take management control measures in the initial stage itself. And coming last to the farmer producer organizations, that was also one of the topics that I was asked to cover. So this I will just explain a bit. What we found that as seen in almost all coconut growing countries, the farmers are very small and marginal, and they are scattered. So what we did was, like in the right side, you can see the mapping which shows a CPS, red demarcation. What we found is that we aggregated the farmers, maybe 40 to 100 farmers in one particular area, having plantations nearby in that particular area. We grouped together to form a coconut producer society. So in an area, we could form maybe 10 or 15 coconut producer societies, each containing 40 to 100 farmers. The coconut producer societies were formed as legal entities, but no profit making, like a charitable society. And what they could do was, they could like collective purchase of inputs, doing harvesting together, planting nursery, undertaking production of vermicompost, doing copra production in a small way, or even marketing of the tender nuts for the people, direct marketing, so that the remunerative benefits reach directly to the farmer. It can be given to the farmer. So that was the aspect of the coconut producer societies. So once the coconut producer societies were formed, I would tell you that this was not an easy task for us. We had to reach out to the farmers, and we had to educate them and empower them. And once we got their trust, then it all fell into place. And the next tier was some 10 to 20 coconut producer societies in a particular region federated to form a federation. And in that, there will be around 1 million palms. So the federations can think of a bit more higher level of activities, like they can do copra production, or do defibering units, or aggregation of coconut for the market, even do some minimal processing of coconut. and generate a better price. So what we did was, on the cultivation aspect, we aggregated them together so they can do some cultivation activities together, even if it is spraying some biocontrol agents. They can do it together. The impact was also great. And in the third level, we had the coconut producer companies. These are actually private limited companies which are allowed under a certain act in India. So they will be having around 1 million palms, and they go in for the real value addition activities like desiccated coconut or coconut oil units or the NIRA processing units. So what is done is that the coconut producer society at the lowest level, they can aggregate coconuts, they can give it to the federation can make copra out of it and give it to the company, and the company can make coconut oil packed in branded coconut oil, and they can market it, they can even export it. We have coconut producer companies because they are owned and run by the farmers themselves. They have issues because they are not used to this business, they are not used to this managerial things, but we try to support them. We provide them leadership trainings, we provide them managerial trainings, and we are very happy to say that around 34 coconut producer companies have ventured into value addition, established processing units, and some of them have even started exporting products to the global market. So this is in a nutshell about farmer producer organizations. They are still in the nascent stage. They need a lot of hand-holding support, and Government of India has also declared farmer producer organizations as the need of the future, and has devised some schemes to promote farmer producer organizations in a way that provide them support for undertaking their activities so that they emerge victorious. And the benefit is that whatever is realized as value for the product, it is reaching directly to the smallholder farmer without being divided between the many intermediaries in the supply chain. So we have around 67 coconut producer companies, out of which I told 34 of them have started on value addition in a big way. And that is farmer producer organizations are the need in the future if we really want the farmer to be getting the benefit of cultivation. And I think that is all. I hope I haven't taken much time. That was an exhaustive topic, and I just brushed through what we have done, we do as part of good agriculture practices in India. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nair. Thank you for elaborating to us the importance of developing and implementing good strategy to improve coconut productivity, for improving welfare of the coconut farmers by applying good agricultural practices, using the case of India. But I think it is also applied to Indonesian case, even North Sulawesi province. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the three speakers presented. I have to say sorry to the committee. We did pass the time frame slot given for the first session presentations. Sorry, I didn't interrupt our speakers because I'm aware that they are giving very important information for us. So I think it's better for us to follow their presentation completely and not miss any of their presentation. So I hope the committee will allow us for some extra time for question and answer. And then I need to check the questions submitted by the participants. First is from Mr. Jailani Hussain, Soil Science Faculty of Agriculture, Sam Ratulangi University. Mr. Jailani would like to have some confirmation that, regarding real evidence or research results that reveal the increase of coconut farmer life quality from all efforts that have done so far, vis-a-vis to the increase of its added value and diversification. I think I would like to ask the response from Dr. Jalfina first, and then Dr. David also could add, and Mrs. Nair for that question, please. Hello, Dr. Jalvina? Or probably Dr. David could respond to that first before Dr. Jalvina. Please,
Yes,
Dr. Vidya.
can you please repeat the question again?
Mr. Jalani would like to confirm for any research data that reveal the increase of coconut farmer welfare, life quality, by the increase of the added value of the diversification of coconut products.
Well, perhaps Dipsy is in a better position to answer that, and Dr. Jalfina. So perhaps I'd like to pass the question to Dr. Jalfina or to Dipsy.
Yeah, Dr. Jalfina is not ready yet. Probably Dr. Dipti Nair to respond to that question. Thank you.
Yeah. Increase in coconut farmer life quality happens when he gets a remunerative, the returns that he gets reaches him. But with increase in product diversification, like we had heard about a lot of diversified products that are being made from coconut, but mostly from the Indian context, I would say that the increase in diversification, increase in products, increase in the export value in the global market, all of those things was not actually reaching the farmer, because the farmer was supplying the raw material to the processor or to the farm gate trader or to the exporter, and or to maybe a long chain of intermediaries, and these intermediaries were reaping the benefit. So it was under the realization of this that in 2012-13 in India we started for aggregation of farmers to form these societies and all, because if 40 farmers join together to market, not do any value addition but just market their produce, what happens is that that group has an more bargaining power, more power to interact with the trader or with the processor or with an exporter, or even for a processor. The processor may not be interested to have individual license with individual farmers. That will be a cumbersome task for him. He may be doing maybe 5 lakh or maybe 1 million nuts or 2 million nuts per day processing. And if you have an organization of farmers where the nuts can be aggregated, he can supply directly to the processor. What happens is that the intermediary may be collecting from 100 farmers, compacting that whole product, and he may be supplying to the processor. So for increase in farmer life quality to attain, to reach to that level, we have to empower our farmers and we have to enable them to realize the benefits that they return. That is possible only by having aggregating the produce and having direct marketing, or farmers themselves involving in primary processing or value addition, or even going into the final product. Only then they will be able to. That is my view based on my experience in India.
Yeah. And then the farmers should not do it individually. It should be in an organization of the farmers.
Yes.
Yeah, and doing that together. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Myers, for that. There's a question specifically to Dr. David from Yola Londok. She is a lecturer at the Animal Husbandry faculty. She read some of your paper, and then she mentioned here that she uses lauric acid from coconut oil and to effect the broilers, chicken. So the results were able to increase productivity, and because he said she suspect that the role of lauric acid is an antimicrobial pathogen, makes a good balance of microbes in the digestive for the chicken to occur. So probably, Dr. David, you have some confirmation or explanation regarding the role of lauric acid in the digestive system of the chicken, especially in this case. Thank you.
Yes, well, actually, there's quite a number of publications already on the use of coconut oil, as well as monolaurin, for in growing animals, and it's not just for chicken. It's also been reported in piglets. So
Okay.
I think it's actually quite general. The veterinarians know this, that feeding their animals. It doesn't have to be lauric acid. Well, actually, they would generally use monolaurin. They can use coconut oil, but then they also use the spent, the pressed meat after they extract the meat. There's still proteins and maybe about 10, 15%, 20% of coconut oil left in the meat, and that is fed to animals. So there's quite a lot of evidence for the beneficial use of coconut products, not just specifically coconut oil, but spent coconut meat as well as monolaurin itself for animals.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Derit. And also there is a question from Amrizal Idrus to Dr. Derit also, that he asked whether we can use RBD coconut oil instead of PCO to fight the COVID-19.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, on the basis of the hypothesis that it's mainly we're taking advantage of the lauric acid content, certainly RBD can also be used. You can use it for cooking, so stop using other oils. But if you're going to recommend, intake, of the oil itself, VCO, of course, would be more palatable to people than taking RBD. But certainly, if you just use coconut oil and not any other oil, then you're also one step ahead.
Okay. Yes. That PCO is more effective, than RBD in doing that function. And also to Dr. Derit, there is a question from Janita Sirin. It's about the origin of coconuts. Any update of the supersized coconut variety from the Bikini Islands?
Oh, I don't know the details of the varieties of coconut. Well, what I've learned is the origin of the coconut tree itself, the palm, and how it was distributed to Southeast Asia and southern India by the movement of the tectonic plates. I'm not a botanist. I don't know the details about varieties of coconut. Perhaps Dr. Alo or Deepthi would know more about the agricultural aspects of coconut.
Yeah, I would like to add to
Okay,
that
please,
he's asking about the supersized coconut variety in Bikini Islands. Actually, there are many local cultivars. Like region-wise, there are varieties which are showing very good size, maybe good water content, good meat content. So that may be the genetic nature of that particular cultivar. Like for instance, in Sri Lanka, we have the king coconut. Which is in very demand as a tender coconut for water, and it's a big coconut. So it may be a genetic character for that local cultivar, the inherent to that particular region. Maybe Jelfina would like to add. That is what I feel.
Okay, please, Dr. Jelfina, if you have something to add on that issue.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Yes.
Sorry about
Yes,
that.
yes.
So I just want to add some what you call response to Mr. Jailani's questions. So theoretically, thank you for Deepthi for the very complete explanation on that. But I just want to add a little bit about theoretically when farmers develop value-added products that might get more income than just producing copra or other low value products. So however, this is a challenges for all of us, including ICC and Faculty of Agriculture to do more research and provide scientific evidences as well as economic analysis on that. So, and I think I mentioned before that we need also to seek some mutual synergy between industry and the farmers, because it is not easy for the farmers to compete both in local and global markets. So I think we have to improve that mutual silence. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jalvina. I actually would like to accommodate some more questions from the audience, but it is a time that limits us in this question and answer sessions. So I have to end this session because there is still the second sessions that is no less interesting with this first session. So for that, I would like to thank for all the speakers and participants who participated so that this first session could run well. Thank you very much for your extraordinary ordinary presentations and all participants for joining this first session. So by that, then I return the time to Caroline, our MC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Molinar, and thank you for moderating this session. Also, thank you for our speakers for the very interesting material. I think we all learned very new and useful things from your talks. As a gesture of our appreciation to the speakers, the committee would like to present each of you with a certificate. For Dr. Alo, for her talk on global scenario of coconut sector during COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. For Dr. Dairit, for his talk on the coconut, treasure of the tropics. And for Mrs. Nair for her talk on good agricultural practices in coconut and coconut farmer organizations in India. We would like to thank all three of you for making the time to talk in our event, and we wish you all the luck in future endeavors. Thank you, speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now continue right on to the second session. This session will be chaired by our Vice Dean of Academic Affairs, Insinyur Joni Tasirin, MSc, PhD, and we will hear from three more fantastic speakers. Let us now give the floor to Dr. Tasirin.
Thank you so much, Dea. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have another three presentations. We are late a little bit from the previous session, but we are going to make use of this session. We are having three speakers. The first, I'm going to just give to Dr. Nguyen Quang Thien. Dr. Nguyen is from the International University, in Vietnam National University in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. He got a PhD in horticultural and agricultural sciences in the University of Queensland in 2018. He wins an award from the CSIRO Power on Prime Program for Research-Based Business Model on Commercialization of Coconut Cloning for the Industry in 2018. He wrote more than 20 books, articles, and conference paper. The current research is actually selection and propagation of high-yielding coconut varieties towards sustainable development of Mekong Delta. Dr. Nguyen?
Hi. Can you hear me well?
Yes, you are going to present about coconut cloning for worldwide replanting urgency. Please, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So let me share my screen.
Berupa benang perak dan benang emas pada pembuatan motif selongket. Untuk lebih jelasnya gambaran jenis-jenis serat yang ada di alat.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, can you hear me well, everybody? Yep. Okay.
We can hear you great.
Yeah, great greeting from Vietnam, and appreciate your participation in all the three presentations in the coming sections. And I just want to keep it really brief and to the point so everybody can save time for the question and answer sections. Firstly, I want to thank the university and also the ICC for invitations and for your attentions. Just wanted straight to the point. Okay, so my topic is about cloning, coconut cloning for the worldwide replanting urgency, and I would like to divide my topic into 3 parts. First, why we need to do coconut cloning, which is the driving force for this particular technology. And the second is, what do we have at hand? What technologies we already acquired in the past 20 or 30 years, and the way we want to move forward. This will be the last part of my presentations. And so we jump into the driving force. What does really have the big impact for the cloning technologies? As you can see here, we got the big booms of coconut drinks for a replacement of the soft drink industry. It is happening right now, and thanks to the presentations of Dr. Delfina and Dr. Fabian Derry, we appreciate the importance of having good materials, good coconut material for the coconut industry, coconut water and coconut oil, and all the accessories and industries, coconut related. And I think I just picked some figures that I feel important to me. The first is the coconut water is, just want to remove this. Okay, the coconut waters is in 2020 is just the coconut market is about 3 million, and it's going to jump into 8.5 million in 2026. And I think this number is still a little bit humble compared to what presented this morning by Dr. Delfina, and especially the organic coconut water. So the supply of the coconut is really in high demand, and really we want to. The second thing is about the health-related products. I just copied this particular slide from Dr. David. He presented it earlier this year about the benefits of coconut, virgin coconut oil for the combat of the COVID-19 pandemic. And today we learned that the virgin oil really have some effects in order to reverse the negative effects of the COVID, the virus infections. And I would like to jump into the topic that I like to talk today about the coconut production. So how do we cope with that rising demands for coconut productions when we have the major threats to the coconut productions, including the advanced age of the majority of plantings, the lethal pests and disease, the natural disasters, and also the improper management in coconut plantations. And the photo that I like to share with you on the screen here is what I took in Mexico, and it's the problem with the lethal yellowing and also the virus. The virus is not just attacking the people; it's also attacking the coconut plantations. And this is the killing, just the killing disease, which we call the phytoplasma-based disease. And it's just lethal to the coconut palms. And if we really need to have an accurate supply of coconut, we need to really deal with that. And how can we do this when the conventional breeding approach, as presented by Dr. Dies Natalis earlier this sections, the earlier sections, we got to talk about conventional breeding. It's still very effective, but in the next decade or the next 10 years, we really need to replant up to 100 million palms per year. So as I expect, it's going to be 1 billion palms in 10 years. So how do we achieve this goal as the mandate for replantations? So let me introduce you something that we can do to reverse the situations, which is the possible solution when we can use tissue culture to rapidly multiply the varieties of interest. So the coconut, as you can see in this screen, the photo for affordable replanting materials, which is really important for the farmers and also for the coconut suppliers too. The coconut supplier, they rely on the affordable coconut material so that they can reduce their cost. So that all that stuff need to be very much depends on the replanting material as the first stage. So the second one that we can multiply using the technology that we are having is the elite coconut varieties. It could be Macapuno, it could be Corpior, it could be aromatic coconut in the larger scale. And how do we turn it into reality is the question that we need to address. So we're going to look at the second part of the presentation is what do we have at hand. So the technologies we have at hand is going to include a couple of technology I'd like to introduce to you. The coconut tissue culture at the first stage 60 years ago is about embryo culture, and it really have the big help for the Macapuno rescue, the embryo rescue for Macapuno, and now Corpior or Unsrat in Vietnam. And we really we need to give a lot of credit for people that developed the embryo culture technology for us. And the second part is about the haploid culture, which is really much about using the ivory and also the pollen or anther to culture and also multiply the planets from those materials. And it's particularly good, really great effort been done by the Sri Lankan group. And the third things that we have is the somatic embryogenesis. This is particular powerful tools that have been followed by a couple of research groups in different places around the world, including the Mexican group in Sisi, led by Dr. Carlos Oropeza, and the Australian group led by Dr. Steve Atkins is another, and also the Sri Lankan group, the Pereira groups. And today we have the somatic embryogenesis as the foundation for the coconut cloning technology. And we want to share with you in the next few slides how far we get for this four technologies. And also, last but not least, it's pretty important to do the cryopreservation as well, because when you talk about conservations of the genetic materials, in the long run, when we need to deal with a lot of issues such as the natural disasters or the change in land use, there's a lot of lands has been converted from farming to houses, and so the urbanization takes place all around the world. So it's difficult to maintain enough land to conserve the genetic materials and also all the seed. It's difficult to maintain the seed gardens because the cost is high and the risk is high as well. So the four technology that we can do with the coconut tissue culture they do have a great efforts and potential in order to maintain the or produce the large amount of seedlings. So we'd like to briefly go through the embryo culture, one-to-one technology. So if you got one embryo, but it cannot germinate in nature, you can use the in vitro culture techniques to rescue. We call the embryo culture. This is one of the, we can do it with our plants. And then after we got the plants in the test tube, we can have them in the soil. And this is some of the example for the USAP being planted in Vietnam is Macapuno-like coconut. Is the young coconuts coming from the embryo culture from the test tubes. And so the embryo cultures can be used to re-establish the germplasms and also to develop or to maintain the presence of the elite seedlings. Otherwise, they will disappear due to the difficult germination of them. And the second is about haploid culture. This is the technology is able to get from 1 explant to the 100 plants. And this is particularly useful. This technique is particularly useful when you want to overcome the lengthy breeding cycles. And these techniques involve 2 particular parts. First is about the embryogenesis from the anther or ovary culture. So you need to get the embryos through the callus phase. And the second is about a regeneration of the double haploid. So you got haploid tissue first, and then you need to regenerate with in order to create double haploid plants. So, and here's the figures that we get from replications about 10 years ago from the Sri Lankan group, which provide quite a number of success in order to use the haploid culture for the multiplication of the plants. So we move into the somatic embryogenesis, which is quite interesting and exciting techniques that need to be mastered by different groups in including the University of Queensland, where I worked. The somatic embryogenesis is also called the coconut cloning. It can rapidly multiply the coconut seedlings. And this is a critical technology to address the rising demands. And here is the couple of photos regarding the somatic embryogenesis. We can actually use 2 types of materials from the coconut in order to get the colors and also to turn them into the plantlets. First is the plumule tissues. So what is plumule tissues? Plumule tissues is the early shoots. It's early shoots, or we call it shoot predominal from tissues. And we can actually get that after we sterilize the embryo and we put them into the test tube, and we have the plumule, the tissues coming out, as you can see here. And from the tissues, and we need to keep them in the appropriate condition with the appropriate medium in order to get the callus phase. So here is the photos here, as I pointed out, is the callus, the embryogenic callus, as you can see. So from these callus, we can have multiple structures. We have multiple embryogenic structures, and later on we can turn them into little shoots like this. And each of the embryos here can be, we can consider it as equivalent to 1 zygotic embryo. So that means from small test tubes, you can have multiple nuts or the seed nuts. So you don't have to plant or you don't have to germinate the nuts in the ground. Of course, there's some drawbacks and also some limitation in terms of technology those days, but it's already over because we are able to maturize and also to regenerate those materials into the plantlets. So basically, this technology include three parts. First is calogenesis, second is maturation of somatic embryos, and the third one is about platelet regeneration, as you can see. And let's cover up the cryopreservation technologies that we already got so far. So this technologies is about conserving the genetic materials in the long run. So it's involved through major steps. First is about dehydration, but we need to talk about the effective dehydration of the conserved tissues, because before you move the tissue into the cryo or into the low temperatures conditions, the water inside the tissue will be crystallized, and it will cause a lot of damage to the tissues, and the tissue will die. So effective dehydrations of the conserved tissue is the critical steps. The second is about the recovery and regeneration of the cryo tissue. This is also important, because if you got the conserved tissues dehydrated well and you put them into the low temperatures, but they cannot recover or it cannot regenerate, it is also a big problem. So recovery and regenerations is something we need to care about. So here's the work's been done by an Indonesian scientist called Sisunanda. He did this work at the University of Queensland a couple of years ago, and he used materials we call zygotic embryos. So he learned how to use the appropriate materials at appropriate stage of maturity in order to conserve under the cryopreservation. But today we talk about more about not just zygotic embryos, but also about plumioles, pollens, and also embryogenic callus. So we are able to preserve not just zygotic embryos, we're able to preserve plumioles, pollens, and also embryogenic callus. This is what we can do with the cryopreservations. And I just want to briefly introduce to the audience one of the publication that we got earlier this year in middle of 2020. This is the Coconut Biotechnologies. This is the book that cover different techniques and tissue culture techniques, and also the biotechnological interventions related to the coconuts. And this can be something of good help for you. And how now is the third part of my presentation, is how we can move things forward with the things that we got in hands. So the coconut tissue cultures, embryo culture, haploid culture, somatic embryogenesis, and cryopreservation is what we can achieve. But how do we scale it up? How do we make things affordable? We need to think about the new interventions. We need to think about the acclimatizations. Once you got the plant in the test tubes, when you put it in the soil, it's really difficult, because it's not easy to turn the baby in the incubator, for the normal life. It will take time and a lot of efforts. The second is about automations, because tissue culture involves a lot of labors and time, and of course it's about the running costs for maintaining the large scale micropropagation system. Because we had a conversations a couple of years ago with Dr. Carlos Pereira in Mexico about how can we afford multiplying, let's say, 100,000 plantlets with a lot of lab technicians, and the automation is something already got the robots. The tissue culture robots that I can introduce you in the next few slides. So we need to think about the engineering and the robots when we do tissue culture. So acclimatizations is about getting the plants out of the tubes and successfully growing in soil. And here is what we got from the acclimatizations. Again, we can use the mini grow chamber in order to overcome lethal dehydration during the acclimatization stage, and also the biostimulants for the root development. So with biostimulant here, we need to think about how to maintain maintain the tissue hydration. So we need to keep them hydrated all the time. And here's what we have been doing in Vietnam regarding adapted from the mini grow chamber developed from the University of Queensland. We successfully get the plants from the test tube into soil, and this is something that we need to work on in the next few in the coming time. And people, when you think about tissue culture, for example, in the Philippines, Indonesia, this is also the critical part of the tissue culture techniques. And automations. So automation is something that can help us to reduce the labor costs, the time consumptions, the technology for the cloning technology, and it can be used for the cloning technologies. The robots for subculture. The robot can be semi-auto or fully auto. So, and we can also use the QR code for tracking and identifications. On the photos here is from the New Plants Smart Clones company, which is adapted for the woody plants. And we at the University of Queensland are trying to incorporate it into the coconut tissue culture system so that we can reduce the cost. And in Vietnam, where I'm actually based, we also use the QR code in order to systemically manage the material, because you can imagine when you have thousands or millions of material to manage, this is going to become very handy. And okay, so embryo culture, haploculture, some of the embryogenesis, cryopreservation on the hookup with the acclimatization and animations. We also need to think about movement of germplasms and seedlings in the safe way. So phytocertificates, biosecurity regulations, and on the international agreement need to be in place before we move things on. So this is really a call from scientists like me on my group in Australia and in Vietnam. It's about the agreements and international agreements on how we can move things safely from place to place, and we need to meet all the requirements so that once we produce the clones from one place, we can actually ship them into the other place under the good regulations and under the biosecurity manner. And here is I just want to give you one examples for the opportunities for different sectors. It can be government sectors, or it can be industrial sector or private sector to participate in the coconut propagation or micropropagation mandate. So for example, we got the Coconut Australia is one of the Australian-based Australian-based company that is co-funding the coconut revitalization projects in partnership with the University of Queensland. And it's some of the move that is highly encouraged in the apart from the conventional pipeline. So take home message, keep it short. It needs to be affordable and sustainable, and we need to work together in order to achieve the large-scale propagation of healthy and elite seedlings using these tissue cultures. And I'd like to thank those organizations for helping the research group over the past couple of years. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen. Your presentation gives a solution for the rapid multiplication of targeted species, which is very good. The technology is available from embryo culture until the cryopreservation. The author you present here or you refer to is here in Zoom, Dr. Henki Novarianto. He asked questions. Hopefully we're going to read the questions if the time permits.
Sure.
We are going to move. Anybody who has questions can go to the chat room or in a chat box. We are now, I think, 23 countries via Zoom and YouTube from 5 continents, 12 time zones, of a total active participation, more than 300 people. Dr. Jamie Butela, I'm going to give you the time next. Professor Butela is actually professor at plant biotechnology at the University of Queensland, Australia. Since 1995, established the Plant Genetic Engineering Laboratory. He got a degree in quantum chemistry, but then got a PhD in biochemistry from University of Malaga in Spain. He got international patents in the field of plant biotechnology. He founded 2 biotechnology companies established in Australia, and then he's now is a member of expert scientific panel for the Agricultural Biotechnology Council of Australia. He has published more than 130 scientific publications. He got an award from the Chinese Academy of Science. His research interest right now is biotechnological approaches for crop improvement, genome editing, plant defense signaling, and point of care diagnostic. Dr. Butela is going to present about lethal yellowing disease in coconut, a diagnostic tool, and the potential of satellite-based surveillance. Please, Dr. Butela.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. All right, today my talk will be a bit of a combination from things that are almost ready to use, and things that we would like to develop in the near future. I'm going to talk about lethal yellowing, or in Southeast Asia is also known as the Bogia coconut syndrome, BCS, that is prevalent in the Madang province in PNG. It is a phytoplasma disease, and it actually started in the Caribbean, in the Americas, but have extended all over the world. It's a pretty devastating disease when it can kill a 20 years old tree in 3 or 4 months. So it's really bad. And it's not only in coconuts, but our work in PNG has detected it in other plants. For example, banana plants can get the disease too. All right, let's talk about monitoring. Okay, monitoring can be classified. It can be divided into two different things. One is the surveillance, and the other one is the confirmation. Please remember that surveillance will not give you a final answer to anything, but it will give you an idea that the disease is there. All right, so it is absolutely essential that we monitor the disease to try to eradicate it, or at least to control it. So surveillance will actually identify suspicious trees that are suspicious of being sick, while confirmation will confirm our suspicions. They are 2 very different things, and they require 2 very different technologies, all right? Now, the surveillance. What is it that we're looking for? We're looking for sick trees, okay? That's all right. You can see some sick trees here, but this is actually dead, but you can see some sick trees that you have over here. They're beginning to show disease symptoms, all right? How do we normally look for those sick trees? We send people to the field, and we look, for the diseased trees, from below with our eyes, or with the eyes of people who are actually really good at looking at it, but they are limited because they can only look at what they can see, and they can only go to some places. But there are other ways that we can do this. We can actually look from above, obviously not with people, but we can look from above. And most important than that, we can use different set of eyes. Eyes that can look at things that humans cannot. So let's talk about surveillance from above. What can we use? Well, until not too long ago, it was almost impossible to think that we could actually get any kind of resolution with satellites. But today, we have all kinds of satellites. We have the old ones, low resolution, around 60 meters for 1 pixel in a picture. We have what we call medium resolution satellites. It's between 10 and 30 meters per pixel. And we have the high and very high resolutions. We can actually look at things that are only 30 centimeters per pixel. And those are now available, like the SuperView satellites. We can also use drones. Pretty much a lot of people got drones now for a lot of applications. I have one because I like to use it when I go sailing, and it's really cool. You can take really nice pictures and you can take really nice video. But more important than that, you can take pictures of high resolution that you can then analyze. What am I talking about? Pictures. There is more than pictures. When you look at the human eye, human eyes are extremely limited. Human eyes can only see from here to here. They can only see indivisible. And that is extremely, a very, very small part of the entire spectrum that we can look and we can analyze. We got near infrared, we got fluorescence, we got things that we cannot see, like thermal, to measure, temperature, at least temperature in the surface of plants. We had what they call the synthetic aperture radars. We got the LIDAR system. Means looking with human eyes is so restrictive. And there are so many other things that we can use, all right? Let's talk about the symptoms that you have in lethal yellowing. The symptoms are, first of all, you see fruit drop. Then you start seeing a yellowing of the canopy, all right? Why? Because this is a phytoplasma disease, and phytoplasma diseases actually will restrict, flow and movement, and will essentially stress up the plants. Now, plants that are stressed have a very unique signature if you know how to look for it. And of course, plants that are stressed, the photosynthesis efficiency will be quite low. And you might say, yeah, but you don't want to go up 20 meters of a palm tree to measure photosynthesis. Well, good news is you don't need to. You don't need to. Now, if we're going to do a surveillance, what we need to do is we need to look and record all kinds of emissions from plants or from trees. And we need to analyze them in a way that we can actually recognize how does a diseased tree, a sick tree looks like. Again, forget about your eyes, forget about the picture, forget a normal RGB picture. How do they look when they're sick? And for that, if we go beyond what a picture can take, we need to look at a very high, wide range of spectral signatures. In the infrared, in the ultraviolet, in the fluorescent spectrum, we need to look at everything and find out how does a sick tree look by looking at all those signatures. And most important than that is, if we look at the signatures, it's going to be almost impossible for us to actually recognize, okay, a typical sick tree will look like this in the infrared or the fluorescence or whatever. It's for humans are almost impossible. So what we need to do is use artificial intelligence and machine learning to recognize symptoms. We are dealing with artificial intelligence and machine learning in my lab. You will see an example at the end of my talk about them that they can work, all right? So 2 things in surveillance. One is image acquisition, and the second one is image analysis. One thing is how do you take, the images, and second is how do you interpret them? Image acquisition, all right? you can do that with anything. Drones are really good to do local stuff. By local is small scale, and by small scale, we're still talking about, you could do kilometers, square kilometers with drones. Today, we have really good drones that can go a long way. They are super high resolution, and they're very fast, and they're relatively cheap. I mean, super duper drones can be bought now for $8,000, $9,000. I'm talking about drones that come equipped with all cameras that will get into the near infrared, the ultraviolet, thermal cameras. And you can get that for a relatively low price. And you can use satellites, because today, finally, we can actually use satellites, not too much for small plants. If you want to look at a wheat plant or sorghum or rice, that for a single plant, satellites are not good enough. For things like coconuts, they're more than enough, because you get a 0.3 meters resolution in the best satellites. You can do large scale. They're a bit lower resolution, and they're a bit more expensive because you do have to pay for that. The free satellites are really not very good. So they have very limited use, all right? So the really good ones, you gotta pay for them, but that's okay. And the good thing about satellites is that if you can automatically analyze the image, you can actually monitor big provinces in your country. We're not talking about, 1 by 1 kilometers. We're talking about, hundreds of square kilometers being analyzed by machines. What about the analysis? Let's say that you take the pictures, and you take pictures in the infrared, and you take pictures in the visible spectrum or the ultraviolet. Well, it's not only taking the pictures, it's not what you see, it's how do you analyze it. And I can give you an example. This is a very basic example that is very used in agriculture. It's called NDVI. NDVI stands for Normalized Difference Vegetation Index. It's actually a mathematical formula. What you do is you actually look at a plant and you measure the reflectance they have in the near infrared and the reflectance they have in the red. And then you produce a mathematical formula, and you do these calculations, and you end up with a number. The funny thing is, when you look at it, that when you look at this number, a normal, healthy plant will give you ratios of around 0.8, while a stressed out plants will go all the way to 0.1, 0.2. So it's not taking one single picture in the infrared and one in the red. It's taking different pictures and then doing mathematical analysis. And that mathematical analysis can actually be interpreted, because if you look at a dead leaf, you're going to have a number of emissions from a dead leaf, and a stressed leaf will have a different signature. If you see here, they will emit more in the green than the near infrared, while a healthy leaf will have a much bigger near infrared emissions, reflections, than the green. This is just physics 101. Typical example, I'll give you a picture of a field. This is a wheat field. Look from above, and you can see the farm over here and the field. And when you look at the field, you would tell me, the whole field looks to me identical. Well, it will look identical until you take a picture and you do your NDVI interpretation. And your NDVI interpretation will tell you that this part of the field, this part over here, is under stress. And the good thing is that you will be able to see that it's under stress with this kind of technology before your eyes can see it. If you wait long enough, these plants will look stressed. If you go to the field now, you will not see that there is any stress on these plants. But analyzing the image will actually tell you about it. One thing is looking at them, and the other thing is interpreting them. Yeah, sometimes it's difficult, and for that you use machine learning image analysis. This is from a paper that has been published this year from people in SIAT. This is a fantastic paper. They are using satellite and drone images, and then they're making the machine learn from the images. The machine will look at the pictures, and then we will tell the machine, okay, this one is a banana tree, and this one is not a banana tree, and this one is another banana tree, and this one is another banana tree. And after an iteration and with a lot of mathematical calculations, the machine will be able to tell you from above, that is a banana tree, that is not a banana tree. What is great, because if you look at coconuts, sometimes you have big plantations, but sometimes you have coconuts in the wild, and you might want to recognize them and differentiate them from other palms. And then the machine can be taught to learn what a sick tree looks like. And this is the machine recognizing trees that have different diseases in the field. So let me explain this. This is something that we are trying to put together. We have a really good team at UQ of people who are really good at drones, satellites, and a big team of mathematicians. And this is something that I really want to see whether we can gather some momentum and find some collaborators and try to get some funding to go for it. So how would we go about it? The first thing that we need to do is locate trees at different stages of the disease, and then collect images and spectral data with a drone and with a satellite. After that, when you have enough data to do that, then you can start talking to the mathematicians, and the mathematicians can start looking at those data and say, okay, what can we use? We can use visible to recognize the trees. We can use RGB, maybe not. What about thermal? We could use thermal and NDVI for the machine to tell us this tree looks like it's sick. So the artificial learning, artificial intelligence is essential for this kind of stuff. We do have expertise here doing that. And then create surveillance methods, because then what you can do is get drones at a local system, and then the computer will, after you do all that, the computer will analyze and tell you these are suspicious trees, and you can do that also with satellites. Of course, there are plus and minuses. Satellites on a cloudy day, satellites will not show you much. All right, and you cannot control how cloudy is a day. Sometimes you have a rainy day or a rainy week and you won't see anything there. Okay, these are examples from the Madang, Stewart Research Station from the coconuts. This is the station over here. These are from satellites. I took it from satellites. I asked our team as a favor, can you please take some satellite pictures, different satellites at different. This is from the Airbus worldview at different resolution. All right, so you can see here that you can figure out that those could be palm trees. Here is the same image. Now, different satellites. This is Sentinel. This is the worldview. This is on NDVI, as I told you, measuring the near infrared, measuring the red, and then interpreting the image. And you can see different colors here. This is the same picture in RGB on a normal picture. And this is a scale up of it, 0.5 meters pixel resolution, and you can really see the trees in here. And when you look at the NDVI, you can see it in here. These trees are healthy, so we're not looking for any disease. It was just to have a look at what we can see. And that would be the start of where we can start working towards having an automatic surveillance system that will tell us this tree looks suspiciously sick. But after that, you need to go there and confirm that the tree is sick. For that, you need to have some kind of diagnostic systems. How do we go about that? Okay, we develop diagnostic systems that are based on molecular biology. For that, we have developed a purification method in which you can purify DNA in 30 seconds without any kind of technology. We use this. This is what we call a DNA deep stick. You grab it with your hand over here, and this bit, you put it in your plant tissue, and it will absorb the DNA. Once you absorb the DNA with the deep stick, you dip it into a second tube to wash it, and then you put it into your reaction tube that normally we use amplification in order to amplify the pathogen. So this all takes 30 seconds, and I have a video that can show to you how it is done. This is one of our PhD students. And this is not high quality. It's taken with her phone, all right? But it's good enough to see. You have your planting here, the wash buffer, and your reaction here. So the first thing is we normally mix the plant at the beginning with some iron balls so we can break the tissue. And then we use, this is the stick. You put the stick in there, it will bind the DNA, you wash it, and then you put it into your reaction tube. And as you can see here, that takes around 30 seconds, and that takes absolutely no scientific equipment. You can do that anywhere. Anywhere means no lab. You can do that in the middle of a field. So how do we do the reaction? So we have developed a machine that can actually perform the reaction and interpret the results. We have on purpose put that this is a coffee mug, and it's a coffee mug that we actually bought it on purpose. And this particular machine talks to your phone. There is an app that we have created to the phone. It got Bluetooth connection with the phone, and it was there is an app that we have in the phone. You can start up the app, and you can control the machine with your phone. Once you have decided, what do you want to use for the detection, it got, capacity for 6 samples. It talks to the machine. It receives data to the machine. Here you can read in the temperature that is on the machine. And when the machine is ready, it gets ready to start. So all you need to do, put the tubes in the machine, you press start, and the machine start analyzing each one of the 6 tubes. It got all the microelectronics inside. And then it actually uses machine learning to learn when do you have a positive and when do you have a negative. We have trained this machine with thousands of samples to tell us this is a positive and this is a negative. It actually means that you don't need to know any science for that. The machine will tell you this is a positive sample, this is a negative sample. Now, that machine can be plugged into a car, lighter. So you can plug it into pretty much anywhere. Car lighter. This is the second version of everything. What you can see here is we don't use tubes anymore. We found that it's easier and it's even cheaper to get a plastic bag. So we put the leaf in there and we squeeze it with our fingers. And then we just put the dipstick into it, wash it, and put it in the tube. This is our new machines. These machines do not talk to your phone because these machines, as you can see, it's got an LCD screen here. It's got a USB, you can put a memory card in here. So when you finish the machine will tell you positive and negative, but then if you want to analyze the data, you can get the memory card, put in your computer, and look exactly at everything that the machine saw. So this is the new model. We're still trialing it, but it's almost ready to work. So this is us working in PNG with the KIK, in which we need to go to places and collect a bit of sawdust from trees. Then we go back, and this is our lab. We can do this in the back of a ute because we essentially don't need anything. And then finally, when we've done the DNA purification, we put it in our machine and we plug in our machine to the car, to the ute. And by the way, then you can actually drive to the next location while the machine is analyzing the samples. All right. This is down, well, we're down quite a lot in PNG. Now, the good thing about this is that this system can be adapted to any kind of disease. We're using it for phytoplasma, but we have already used it for bacteria and diseases, for fungal diseases, for viral diseases, DNA viruses and RNA viruses. And also, it can be adapted to any crop. It already works for coconut. We're working on cassava. It works in cassava. It works in cacao. And we have a project in West Africa. It works in sugarcane. We're working with the sugarcane industry in Australia. Actually, sugarcane is really good because we are testing diseases at the mill. So we don't even need to go to the field. When you get the juice from the sugarcane, we can test whether those plants were sick or not. And it work with chickens. Chickens are not a crop, but we've been doing work with the Australian chicken industry. We can detect Campylobacter contamination, bacterial contamination in chickens. All right. Now this is the end of my presentation. I need to thank my collaborators, especially the PNG group, Alan Aku, Alfred Campbell, Julius Maut, that is, I think, attending this seminar. They are our hands and our brains when we go to PNG. They are the ones who can look at a tree and they will tell you even better than molecular diagnosis. This is a sick tree, but you always need to confirm with molecular. And we have other collaborators in Chinese Academy of Sciences, in the US, Singapore, and Malaysia. They've been working with us in the diagnostics. If you look at the bottom, you will see that there is Dr. XXXX. That actually means we're always looking for collaborators. Obviously, funding is important to do any kind of project, but many of our technologies are ready to deploy or are ready to be adapted to different diseases, different crops, and we're more than happy to collaborate with new people. I would love to go and collaborate with people in Indonesia, mostly because I love the people there. They're so friendly. I love even more than the people. I love the food. The food is excellent in Indonesia. And so if you are interested in working in any of these, in other crops or whatever, please just give us an email and we can talk about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Botella. Amazing. Surveillance and confirmation. But actually, we encountered a human limit to the visible light. And I think your presentation dwarfs the beauty of colors by looking at something, the drone and satellite to identify and quick response for the sick or less health. Amazing. Maybe you reveal your patterns already here. Mind-blowing diagnostic droid. I think I like that. Droid for the coconut. I think we may invent a new name for that. Codroid or something like that. Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Botella. We need to continue to themes about the soil management for coconut smart agriculture. This is presentation about by Dr. Joko Purbopuspito about the land in North Sulawesi or maybe further. Dr. Purbopuspito is from Faculty of Agriculture in Sam Ratulangi University. He got a PhD in George August University of Göttingen in Germany. He got also postdoc in Center for Forestry Research in Indonesia. He got publication, he got ORCID and Research ID, Scopus and Loop, if you want to search further about his work in academic. Please, Dr. Purbopuspito.
Mute my speakers. Okay, good day, everybody. Thank you. This greeting from Manado. On behalf of the committee, I would like to say thank you for your patience to join these long seminars. And then I will try to make my point short. Hopefully it's clear. And let me share my screen with you. Okay, is anybody able to see my screen?
Yes. Sound and picture is clear. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the location of Manado. We already pointed out previously, and I will talk about a review actually in soil management of coconut smart agriculture. The topic is I will talk about a bit about Sam Ratulangi wise word and the coconut of Indonesia, soil Indonesia, and smart coconut agro eco technopreneur. It's long term in this point, but it means that's simple, a good agricultural practice for coconut. Okay, Sito Timo Tumoto is meaning to live is to liven others. To live is to and live on others, meaning that we are being human. And because of that wise word, that's become our motto at the university. The Faculty of Agriculture is an excellence, and we strive to be an excellent in and culture in Tridharma based on the Walase region. For some of you is not knowing the Walase region, here is the Walase region. Walase region is the shape of like heart. And because of the have a shape of the heart, that's why Dr. Botela mentioning we are all very friendly and very nice people. And that's the way it is, our culture and nature. And when we take a look of the position, this one is the passage and is the border also of the line of Walase, the blue one, and there's the Weber line, Leidecker line, and the top of this one is Huxley line. So we are actually in the nibbling of the Pacific region. No, the coconut in Indonesia, this the area that's have the priority for developing coconuts, according to Ministerial Decree 2018. So we have a area with a priority in North Sumatra, in the central of Sumatra, southern Sumatra, and West Java, northern part of eastern part of Kalimantan, and then northern part of Indonesia. Here, the star of our place right now. And then we develop the Moluccas, and that's all the priority that need to be developed in this decree of 2018. And for that purpose, Sulawesi Utara is being the third most area of coconuts. The first one is Riau, and then the East Java. And that's what I said. I make a review and then I try to calculate about the productivity. Productivity is meaning kilogram per hectare. So when this the planting area, this is the production, and then production divided by the area, I got this one. So that's one thing that we need to consider maybe later on. Okay, coconut development priority in North Sulawesi consists of at least 5 districts, yeah, because it's under decree 2018 from the National-wide Agricultural Region. That's a priority, and you will see this. The region is in Minahasa, South Minahasa, North Minahasa. This the Southwest Minahasa, and then this the big one is Bolang Mongondo region. We proceed again with the back condition. I got the data from the Plantation Estate Service in North Sulawesi and in 2019, and then I take a look closely, yeah, in the data, and then some abbreviation I will mention it. TBM is young non-productive one. The TM is the productive trees. TR or TMT is the old or not productive trees. And then this the production. And that is the people or household farmer. So when we take a look why the priority is in the top, Minahasa, in this area, there is no company. All belong by the farmers. Yeah, PBN meaning that's National Plantation Estate. The plantation belong to the government, and the PBS is the private plantation estate. Plantation belong to the private company. So when I take a look at this data, the review, I got this the need of rejuvenation. And that's why the reason when we compare 2016 and 2018 right now, we all have a decreasing in production. So rejuvenation is important. And we are lucky in Indonesia, we got good agricultural practice in a decree by the Minister of Agriculture. And by looking at that decree, we are able to see what is climate suitable coconut in Indonesia or nationwide, or we able to see it closely in our park in North Sulawesi. So when we see the elevation should be less, the less 500 and 2,500 of the rainfall, and the number of dry months is less than 3. That's the best way. But the limitation is shallow groundwater. If this one also suitable, but the shallow groundwater happen in the area, meaning it's not suitable for that. See, you need to know the monthly rainfall by years and also by spatial area. Okay, so this one, when you see it, this one is the Minahasa in the middle, this one, and this Minahasa Selatan or South Minahasa, and in this part we have the Southeast Minahasa. So that's the best place that we need to know. Furthermore, I will talk to you, meaning that excellent growth and production, we need to understand all the rainfall pattern. The soil of Indonesia. Most of the soil in Indonesia, it consists of this 12, I think. And one important, the most probable present soil in Indonesia is inceptisol. The second one is ultisol, and the third one is antisol. What are those soil actually? Here is the data in North Sulawesi, where our priority is right now. You see here in the soil suborder, yeah, there is many suborder of soil that's suitable for coconut, especially the insectisol soils. Yeah. And next, I will show you this the type of insectisol. Insectisol is quite soil is a slightly developed soils, young. You will see the layering is the black layer is the top, and then we got some in the brownish in the middle, and then underneath it is all the soils. Please remember also the depth of the soil is important for the coconut plantation. This the ultisol. Ultisol is second most present in Indonesia, and this already almost old, weathered soils, yeah, and they have a shallow humus horizons, and then there is a elevating or displacement of clay from the top to the bottom of the soil profile. And this all is newly formed, is still underdeveloped. It will become better and better if we manage properly. And it's typical in the area of sedimentation, when deposition is faster than the rate of soil development. Now, with good practice of coconut in Indonesia, we take a look for the requirement of the soils, our land actually. We need to have the sandy loam. We need to have a soil depth greater than 100 centimeters. We need to have also what groundwater greater than 100. And the most important thing which we will see here, this is a chloride content. So that's why when we mentioning about the tropical plant or the coconut, they need a chloride. That's the point of this suitability. And I'm trying to compare with the gap of India, like Dr. Nguyen has already mentioned this, and on September, ICC already gave us some talk on the ideal site, and Dr. Subramanian last September gave the talk. And I try to compare it, just make a review a bit. Indonesia is similar with Asian country as well as to some Pacific country, but it is a different because with India, in my idea, is the oceanic country is quite different with continental country. So when we mentioning it, we have the similar rainfall requirement. We love it. Coconut love the requirement of enough water for their growth. But when we take a look at the soil pH, the soil pH in India required 6 to 7. We have a 5.5 to 7. And also about the soil depth. The soil depth in India, they asking about 1.5 to 2 meters depth. In Indonesia, at least 100 centimeter depth is fine for our best coconut. Okay, and then the sun sign, or what I call it, the illumination, I think, the brightness of sunshine, sunlight exposure. In Indonesia, is if we have 5 to 7 hours per day sunshine is better, but in India they are asking for the criteria is greater than 7 hours per day sunshine. That's the review. And when we compare, take a look in 2 hours gap decreed by the minister. This for the dosage for the seedling, yeah. And there is a dosage of kisserate here. The kisserate is containing magnesium sulfate, and actually SP36, the common fertilizer in Indonesia, is also containing 5% of sulfate. I have photos from a colleague in Balit Palma, Mr. Julianus Matana. He sent me this one. How we did our manuring or fertilizing the coconut. We always similar to India, making the circle around the trees. And for the youngest one, they are 15 years old, we put it in ready of 1.5, and then the organic matter, meaning compost, we put at 200 to 20 kilogram compost per tree per year, and the NPK, yeah, for 4 kilograms. And in the juvenile or old or mature coconut, they need to put some more borax. Yeah. Borax is the nutrients for trees to make a good tree. Later on, I will talk about that. And here, why we put a borax? Borax is HBO4, H3BO4. This one, this boron deficiency is some places are common, like meaning a crooked leaf, there is no branches, and that's the problem with the borax. And nitrogen deficiency is similar to Dr. Dipti, that you got a yellowing color. Magnesium deficiency also got different, but when you take a look closely, be able to distinguish which one is magnesium deficiency and which ones is the magnesium or potassium. Potassium, last night when I take a look Dr. Dipti, I got, gee, that's good idea. So I put this picture here. The potassium deficiency will give a color in the middle. The red of the leaf is still yellow, but the leaf flats is still blue, green, and the leaflet is yellowing. And I couldn't find any phosphorus deficiency, but I was thinking maybe the standard tree or small fruit or very dark green leaf, maybe the symptom. And for the chloride deficiency, sometimes the small fruit will be always fell down. But in Indonesia, actually, from our ancestor, when they said the fruit is small, only a few nuts in the bunch, they said put just a added salt in the crown tree. And that's why the way we traditionally relieve or suffice our need of chloride. And organic amendment is the best way to go. There's some info on coconut huts nutrients amendment, and there is a plenty also. Bokasi is another way to work on it. So from Dr. Subramaniam, I got similarly with our results, yeah, with my reading, and we found that potassium grows affecting the trees, and then the leaf especially, and the nitrogen also color is become yellowing. But it's not a yellowing disease. Yeah. And what we did in Balit Palma, actually, the varietas of coconut, they put for 2 years old, they put 20 kilogram compost per trees. Okay, that's the why soil is important in my idea. For the all three tall coconut, they put a radius in 2.0 meters, 2 meters, with 30. For young, we got 20, and for the old, we give 30, and the similar chemical fertilizers. Okay. You see here, boron deficiency is some terrifying effect actually. They have no branches, no fruits, and the leaf is crooked. And in some part of Indonesia, we will be able to find it out. And then almost closing, organic manure is composting is the best. That's why I always mention. And this one that developing the analysis of soil sometimes is difficult for small farmers. There's only household farmer less than 2 hectares of their coconut plantation. But this one is the most important. Managing inorganic and organic management of nutrients is the best way. Organic manure is needed. Yeah, there is hopefully because it is improving the physical and chemical and biological properties of soils, and as well as will be good for the trees. We come almost smart agriculture. Smart sometimes is exactly the correct one for the term specified, measurable, achievable, and relevant, and time-bound. That's why we need to work on that point. And as Dr. Gelfina mentioning, and also Deti mentioning, yeah, 3P actually, this is the most important, and it will put it in the decree of the national undang-undang. People, planet, and prosperity is the 3 aspects in my idea. So, but when we take a look in the small start from ourselves, we have the personal value, the leadership capacity, and then studying organizational culture, and then institutional, and then economic, social responsibility, and then environmental sustainability. Like Dr. Gelfina shared, sustainability is development of that people in the present generation without compromising the other. Yeah, this I got from last year and the master plan pengembangan, meaning the development plan for the estate plantation. There are 5 tenets actually, or 5 aspects or pillars. Is partnership connectivity is the most important, connected to people. And then this one, because the farmer is spread out all over in Indonesia, the consolidating farmer is important. And then because they are spread out, they have difficulties to access the capital funding and make it all into together. That's the main framework, how we work for developing the smart coconut agriculture. Yeah, and then again, I will said, Dr. Depi already mentioned multiple cropping or intercropping. That's the way of life. That's bounded in our traditional farmer life. They always planting different trees or different purpose plant with the different that being harvested at different time of the year. And my suggestion is also about the circular economy. Make it from the coconut tree, also the waste back to the coconut again. That's the idea. Even they're able to put some others value added in the other aspects. In conclusion, to achieve soil management for coconut in smart agriculture, follow the criteria protocol and manage to pay attention on detail and specific coconut requirement. And then achievable, acquired the all necessity rejuvenation in organic way of life, applying multiple cropping. And for relevant, revolve and involve of stakeholders in 5 pillars to proceed for consolidating, connecting, integrating, and modernizing the coconut system. And then the most important thing, we are time-bound target on circular economy, added benefit using that. I think that's all for my talk today. Thank you, moderators. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me. I give my time to you.
Thank you, Dr. Purbo Puspito. The presentation actually says that soil is conquered, but needs serious care for nutrient sufficiency. But also, it tells that actually we have the soil or land for coconuts. So we have 3 presentations now. Some of the questions already answered through chat. I have questions by direct message here to Dr. Botella. It's very simple questions, but I don't know if you can answer that. Does Google provide images with various wavelengths? And then how much do we need to purchase the invisible lights? Very typical questions.
Here I am. Google Images are free. And in principle, they cover the entire Earth, all right? But you cannot really control when the satellite will actually fly over your place. If it flies on a cloudy day, then that's bad luck. Nothing you can do about it. While other satellites, you can actually tell them, I would like to take picture of this place on these particular dates. So that's with Google, but Google are free.
But do they provide the various wavelengths, like far red, for example?
Say it again, sorry?
Do they provide various wavelengths?
Yes, it flies through. I mean, I take pictures of everything.
Google?
It will cover everything, but you don't have any control over it, all right? And again, you know, sometimes updating those photos, they do, sometimes they don't, so you don't really have any control over it. As anything that is free, got pluses and minuses.
Okay. Dr. Nguyen, I think you already answered some of the Prof. Novarianto's questions. Do you have anything to add to it?
No, just want to say thank you for the questions. Just want to emphasize on the international collaborations and also the opportunity for the private sectors or the governmental sectors to join in, because it's really need a lot of support in order to make the coconut cloning into reality. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. There is a questions to Nerjoko from Dr. Novarianto as well. India can produce coconut double than other countries. It is around 10,000 nuts per hectare. Compared to the Philippines and Indonesia, only 5,000 per hectare per year. India can produce higher fruits because of their farmers' fertilizer, organized compost, water irrigation to the coconut palms. Is it possible we do the same strategy for coconut management in North Sulawesi? Water prepare is very important to coconut palms.
Yeah, in my suggestion, we will be able to do it all together, meaning that all stakeholders joining hand in hand, and then we'll be able to start it with a good one to try to optimize or maximize our coconut production per year. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Dr. Novarianto is actually very expert in this, and I think he's challenging all of us that we are going to do the same while he's highlighted India's successful story about the coconut plantation. I would like to have an interaction. If anyone would like to ask question directly. Okay, I think we are close to the end of this time for second session for the seminar. I'm going to give it back to the Master of Ceremony, to Dea.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Tasren, for moderating this session. Thank you to our speakers for the fascinating material, all the frontiers of science that's being applied to the field of coconuts for smart agriculture today. Thank you very much. I think we all learned new and useful things from your talks. As a gesture of our appreciation for the speakers, the committee would like to present each of you with a certificate. For Dr. Tien, for his talk on coconut cloning for worldwide replanting urgency. Thank you very much. For Dr. Botella, for his talk on lethal yellowing disease in coconuts, a diagnostic tool and the potential of satellite-based surveillance. And lastly, for Dr. Purbo Puspito, for his talk on soil management for coconut smart agriculture. Thank you all our speakers for making time to speak in our event, and we wish you luck in your future endeavors. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now approaching the end of this webinar. A brief reminder that the link to the attendance list and also speaker materials has been shared in the chat box. Please fill it in at your earliest convenience. E-certificates will be sent directly to your email upon completion of the attendance list. We will now listen to closing remarks, which will be delivered by the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture, Professor Insinyur Robert Molenar, MS PhD. Professor Molenar, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Caroline. Honorable speakers and all participants, ladies and gentlemen, again, let us give praise and thanks to God for his love and protection so that we can have this seminar went well and completed with number of participants around 500 something from Zoom and YouTube at the same time, covering 23 countries involved. And today also we had a very fortunate opportunity to receive up-to-date and very valuable information from our great speakers, where they are experts in their field. And to that, once again, on behalf of Sam Ratulangi University, more specifically the Faculty of Agriculture, I would like to extend my highest appreciation to Dr. Alo, the Executive Director of ICC, for this productive collaboration, and Dr. Derit, and Mrs. Nair, and Dr. Botella, Dr. Tien, and Dr. Purbo Puspito. Thank you for the very meaningful contributions through your presentations. For our country, Indonesia, especially in North Sulawesi province, protecting and developing coconut is the same as preserving the local culture and wisdom. We even use coconut tree in the symbol of North Sulawesi administration and the Sam Ratulangi University as well. So that shows how important coconut is for the people of this province. And as we are aware of that, Indonesia has the largest coconut plantation area in the world, but the productivity is only second after India, that has more than twice as much as of Indonesia's, where the conditions Indonesia is mainly due to the condition where the existing plants are dominated by senile plants, and also there are some other major threats to the coconut farming in Indonesia. Estimated nationally, there are about 6 million households or growers involved in the coconut farming, with the planted area around 3.4 million hectares. but the productivity is less than half of the India's one. So there is a challenge for us to do some effort to improve the productivity of our coconut farming system. North Sulawesi is the third largest coconut producer nationally, and is also facing a similar situation as the national one. So the speakers today have conveyed the coconut future prospects, where the demand for coconut products and their derivatives will increase significantly, and amidst the problem faced by coconut farmers, such as coconut farmers in North Sulawesi, we see from the presentation that smart technology is available to overcome problems facing in coconut farming in a smart way. We saw during the presentation those things are available, but in this case, figuring out an appropriate or a good and smart strategy for the effectiveness of the implementation of those smart strategies as solutions, such as synergistic efforts of international and external coconut farming stakeholders, seems a must. And recently, for coconut development in North Sulawesi, we are trying to implement a strategy called multi-stakeholders partnership, where Sam Ratulangi University and ICC are among the many institutions involved in it. We hope that sooner as the current political atmosphere related to the elections for governors, regions, and mayors is over, and we have the definitive leaders in the region, then these efforts will soon can be realized. To all participants of the seminar, I thank you for your participations, with the hope that this activity can function as a bridge to facilitate the development of relationship toward real collaborations among us, so that there will be a constant exchange of information and even technologies regarding issues on coconut farming and its development. So finally, by praising and thanking God Almighty, I declare this seminar on coconut in smart farming in collaboration between Faculty of Agriculture, Sam Ratulangi University, and the international coconut community is officially closed. Thank you all. Pakatuan wa Pakalwiran. Stay healthy. And I wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance. God bless us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dean. I would just like to reiterate, again, thank you everyone. Thank you participants. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to our organizing committee. It was a pleasure putting this together for you. And we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you learned something new and other meaningful things through the materials offered. And once again, thank you for your support. We hope to see you at future events. Good afternoon or good morning, good evening, wherever you may be, and have a nice rest of your day. Please feel free to hang around and chat now that the official webinar has concluded. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.